Have you ever went through stories on Snapchat and seen someone posting extremely incriminating or straight up illegal videos on their story and just wondered, how do the police not catch them? Well, the police actually do catch them, and this is the story of how my friend's Snapchat stories and a diss track I made got the FBI monitoring every single one of us our sophomore year. So obviously, you don't just get the attention of the FBI, let alone put on a watch list without doing anything. So in order to fully understand this story, we are going to need a lot of background information. The best place to start is my freshman year of high school. I entered high school during 2020 at peak COVID and peak COVID regulations. School had just been shut down the year prior to this because of COVID, so in order to reopen, schools had to follow the exact print of every COVID regulation. And since the school was so focused on their COVID regulations, they kind of just threw out all types of old rules and old policies that didn't align with COVID regulations. Like, for instance, only juniors and seniors were allowed to leave campus at any point during the day, and since we needed to social distance because of COVID, they just allowed any grade, freshman all the way up to senior, go off campus. And they didn't know this, but this is the beginning of their downfall because they were cutting out so many different rules to the school to focus on the COVID regulations that as a freshman, I was basically allowed to do whatever I wanted on this campus. And on top of the rules being basically non-existent, we only had to go to school 2 days out of the entire week. Since we had to social distance because of COVID, the school decided the best way to do this would be to take every single kid and split them in half by their last name. Kids with a last name A through K had to go to school Monday and Tuesday, and they had the rest of the week off. Wednesday was kind of just an off day for everybody, nobody went to school, and then Thursday and Friday, kids L through Z had school. And this wasn't even school though, this was so much fun, and there was basically no work at all because the year prior to this, I was in 8th grade. COVID initially hit during spring break, and everyone thought they were going to have 2 weeks off from the rest of school before going back, but obviously that didn't happen, and school ended right then and there, which meant every teacher had to figure out how to do online schoolwork. Nobody in my entire district knew what they were doing, so the school district literally sent out an email to every single parent, basically saying, hey, so if your kid is failing a class, don't even worry about it, we're going to automatically give them an A and move them to the next grade. And if your student has any type of schoolwork coming in as well, it's kind of just practice, it's not going to be graded, and no matter what grade you get on that schoolwork, 0 or 100%, it won't affect your grade at all. Meaning, schoolwork was pointless. You did not have to do a single piece of any of the schoolwork, so nobody did any of the schoolwork. And all the teachers kind of figured that once it started back up, school was going to be back to normal and COVID was going to be gone. So not a single one of my teachers had any online work prepared for the start of school. They were all just kind of figuring it out as we went. And this meant that we had basically no schoolwork at all because watching all of these teachers try to make an online assignment was like watching a monkey try to put a puzzle together. It just did not work. They were asking a bunch of teachers who can barely operate their own Facebook page to use their computer to make an assignment that was only accessible online. This was basically like magic to them. They had no idea what they were doing. So we had almost no schoolwork, and we hadn't seen any of our classmates in bare minimum 6 months. So school really just felt like a fever dreamish summer school. Like every single person was just socializing and talking because it'd been so long since we'd seen any of our classmates that everybody was just 1,000 times more talkative. I'd seen the most introverted kids who I'd almost never heard spoke in my entire life yapping everybody's ears off, but it's not like anyone really had a choice because since school was split in half with the Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday classes, if you didn't go to school with any of your friends, you had no friends, and we had no idea how long this school was going to just be split in half. It was indefinitely set like this, so everyone was kind of forced to make new friends. Thankfully, me and my best friend James, our last names both start with M, so we were both in the Thursday, Friday classes. And how this all really starts is with my best friend James, because me and him went to the same middle school, but he didn't go there all 3 years like I did. He transferred over after 6th grade from a different middle school over to mine, which meant that he had a lot of friends at this old middle school he just had to stop seeing and stop talking to once he got to mine. And in my town, there's only about 3 middle schools and 2 high schools. Almost all the kids from my middle school school and James Old Middle School were all going to the same high school at Lake City. And naturally, this meant that we were just going to mix and match all the friend groups from our middle school and his old one, because everybody got split up from COVID into the Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday classes. So when we were going out through school, we just kept kind of recruiting whoever we saw to our friend group. We'd be like, hey, ain't no way you're on the Thursday, Friday class, bro. We got to hang out at lunch. And so we'd ask them to hang out. Normally they'd be like, oh, I got 2 homies that'll come with. So they would just bring more people. So slowly we kind of just recruited more and more people until we had a friend group of about 10 to 15 people just in the Thursday, Friday classes. So we were starting to get a pretty big friend group. And I mean, school was not even school. It just felt like one big fever dream, because we only have to go to school 2 days out of the entire week. When you go into each class, desks are stacked on top of each other, separating everybody. Everyone has to have a mask on, but a lot of the kids were wearing bubonic plague doctor outfits and full chainmail knight armor sets. So it literally just felt like a fever dream. We had almost no rules besides COVID regulations, and we were allowed to go off campus. So our friend group would always go off campus on lunch to this gas station called Maverick. It was directly across the street from the school, and just like maybe a 2-minute walk max. And at this gas station, we met even more people, because my entire friend group was just a bunch of drug addicts, essentially. And we would go over to this gas station to pop pills, smoke, drink, do basically anything and everything besides schoolwork. And almost all the kids who went to this gas station were there to do the exact same things that me and my friends were. So we would go to this gas station every single day, and we would meet more people who were there doing the same things we were. So after day of seeing them, all of us slowly started becoming friends as well. But this is when things started to get really, really bad, because we now have a friend group of bare minimum 20 people just in the Thursday, Friday classes. There was almost no rules because of COVID. There was no schoolwork because of COVID. We are only coming to school to see our friends and socialize and just have fun. To give you an idea on how easy all the schoolwork was during this time, I had a class called photojournalism, and in this class, it's just a photography class. You're supposed to go around town, take pictures of random buildings, find random people on the streets and take portraits of them, go to social events, take pictures of what happens at these events. But because of COVID, no social events were happening. You can't just go up to some random people in the streets, and almost every building we needed pictures of was closed due to COVID. So we genuinely could not do any of the schoolwork. He just told us to take pictures of our house, take pictures of our classmates, and it was an A. Every single time, did not matter. And it didn't just stop there. Math, science, English, history, all of your main classes were even easier, because prior to this school year, we used an app called Google Classroom to post all of our assignments to. For whatever reason, they switched from that to an app called Schoology. None of the teachers knew how to use Schoology. None of the teachers knew how to create assignments, and they couldn't even figure out how to post them if they did create an assignment. So we were only at school 2 days a week, and that's when they had to teach us the curriculum. So if you failed any of the assignments, they would just pass you anyway, because they blamed it on themselves not being able to teach properly or use the app or anything. So it was literally just a free A in every single class, and all we would do was hang out with our friends. And at least half of my grade alone would show up to school just to get extremely high, mess around with their friends, and then go home. School was actually something everybody looked forward to for once, but since the school had basically no rules and even less schoolwork, this is where the problems began, because we were allowed to leave class basically whenever we wanted. It did not matter. So we would just rampage throughout these halls. We would meet up with our friends. We would go into our friends' classes and just hang out in these classes, or go to random people's classes. We would do whatever we wanted anywhere. And the bathrooms were even worse, because the doors to the bathrooms just so happened to close from the inside. So we could completely block the doors to entering the bathroom and just have it us in there, and no one else could come in. This is when things got really out of hand. Nothing was off limits in these bathrooms. If you were showing up there just to chief, just to even buy substances and then do those substances, there would always be a bare minimum of like 10 people in this bathroom. And my friend group would just meet up in this bathroom at any point in the day, whether it was passing period, middle of class, early, like before school even started. One time I walked into this bathroom and saw them passing around a red glass dildo that they proceeded to shatter across the whole bathroom. Nothing was off the table. Everyone was doing drugs and running fades in these bathrooms, and it did not matter because they couldn't get in there. And so we would just rampage across the entire school until eventually they started to suspend every single one of us. I was the first kid in the entire state suspended my freshman year, which kind of set the tone for everything else that was going to take place. And after I got suspended, it was like a domino effect on every single one of my friends getting nonstop suspension or in-school suspension, one after another. And we were getting suspended for basically anything you can think of. Drinking at school, vaping at school, smoking at school, doing drugs at school, selling drugs, getting in fights, truancy, vandalism, disrespect, whatever you want to think of. One of my friends got in trouble for it and got suspended for it. And we all were getting in trouble so much that eventually the ISS room was only filled with our friends. Like, the school would get us in trouble, we'd get a stern talking to or whatever you want to call it, and then they'd give us ISS, thinking that this would, reshape us into men and it would be like a learning experience. We would just get to skip school and hang out with our friends all day in one room. It was genuinely just fun. There was no way to get us in trouble because most of the kids in my friend group also thought of it as a suspension as a vacation. If they got suspended for a week, they're like, oh, I get vacation, I don't got to go to school. Like, they thought of it as something fun because most of their parents did not care if they got suspended, didn't care about all types of things. I was one of the few people in this group who had parents who would genuinely crash out if you got suspended. The other ones just did not care. And so we would get sent to this ISS room and we would all just hang out all day. It got to the point where we became friends with the ISS teacher as well, Mrs. Baker, and she would let us go off campus during lunch to go hang out with the rest of our friends at the gas station, even though she wasn't supposed to do this. So our friend group just kept growing and we kept getting worse and worse each day until suddenly second semester was already here. Once the second semester hit, this is when almost every single COVID restriction went away, which meant we had full classes now. Instead of having the split classes Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday, now every single student was going to school at the same time, Monday, Tuesday, with Wednesday off, and then Thursday, Friday as well. And now it was full lobbies. They could not even control our friend group when it was only 15 people. They were already scrambling, trying to find any way to get us like broken apart, not do all these terrible things. And now it was full lobbies. Every single person in the school was going at once. And this is when we found out the kids on the Monday, Tuesday classes did the same exact thing we did. They all got their friend groups split apart. So they all started making a completely new friend group that was also bigger than their prior friend group. Now all of us are going to school together and we just combined two friend groups of bare minimum 10 to 15 people for a friend group of at least 30 delinquent kids. And this is when things got really, really bad because up until this point, I'd only gone to school with half of the kids who actually went here. I had no idea the sheer amount of kids who went to my school because there were only half classes. So the first day of second semester, I showed up there and it felt like a movie or some type of party or something because this was the most people I'd seen in one area in close to a year. COVID made it so that way no concerts, no fairgrounds, no social events were happening. The amount of people in this school, it genuinely just felt like some type of party or reunion because everyone is just super social because we haven't seen half of these kids in at least a year. I'm going around, I'm seeing some of my homies I almost forgot about because it's been so long. So I'm dapping everyone up, I'm talking to everyone. It genuinely feels like a party, a movie, something like that. Until eventually lunch hits. Me and my group of fiends are walking to Maverick, the gas station. The sheer amount of people at this gas station blew my mind because outside of this actual store at the gas station, there's like a grassy area that has two tables and then just like some sidewalks and areas to hang out. Normally, me and all my friends would cram into one table and then everyone else would just stand around in a ring outside of this table waiting for a chance to jump into the table. Before I could even cross the street, it looked like a frat party was happening around this gas station just at like 11 in the morning. Both tables were filled to the brim. There were people standing in circles around each table, and then people were standing in the grass around the concrete, all in individual circles talking. There was at least 30 to 40 kids at this gas station, and every single one of them is bare minimum chiefing. It looks like a cloud factory over there. I'm walking over there, and like the amount of fiends at this gas station, it was Fiend Central, Fiend City, like a junkie's dream. So exactly what I was looking for. I could not believe how many people were here. And for those of you who don't do substances or vape or anything like that, fiends and addicts tend to attract to each other like magnets. If you are looking into any crowd, you can always pick out and tell who does the same substances as you. And Maverick cut out the middleman to all that. Anybody at that gas station was doing everything you were doing and potentially more. This was literally just fiend headquarters at this gas station. So we would just use it to network because the more people you know who do the same substances as you means that there is a way less likely chance you'll have to be sober at school. These are all kids who are just drugged out of their mind 24/7 at school. And so the more people we know, if I see you in the bathroom, I know that you chief and you will let me hit whatever you have so that way I can get baked as well. So we would just network at this gas station until eventually we had a friend group of 30 to 40 people minimum, all just fiends and drug addicts. And this is when the school started to have a really big problem with us because they were on a path to become a prestigious top-ranked school. They were trying to be one of the top-ranked schools in the state. At the time, our test scores were some of the best in the entire state. We had 3 of the top 5 best basketball players at our school at the same time. And so our school was really trying to cut down and kind of turn to like a boarding prestigious school type of thing. And I mean, it was going really well until a bunch of drugged out freshmen with bloodlust bloodlust in their eyes walked into that school. I mean, our class alone was causing them so much trouble our first semester that they hired 2 new security guards on top of the 3 or 4 they already had just for us. And we weren't even a full class yet when they did this. Now we're a full grade. They have 5 or 6 security guards all targeting just the freshmen, and they're trying to crack down on us because they can tell we are getting out of control. They even tried to tell us that freshmen were no longer allowed off campus during second semester. But we were not about to listen to that. I mean, you're going to let us do anything we want for the first half of the semester. And now that we have enough manpower to overpower whatever you're saying, now you're going to crack down. No, we were not about to listen to that. And they figured that out really quick, because that is when full-blown war started between my friend group and the school. The school was starting to realize how out of control my friend group was getting, and they decided they needed to put a stop to this now before it got any worse for the school. They were suspending my friends every single day. Like, I'm talking, I couldn't show up to one day of school without my friends getting either suspended, ISS, detention, searched, kicked out, or far, far worse. They were handing out suspensions like candy because they wanted us to get kicked out of the school. They wanted all types of bad things to happen to us. But they quickly realized that my friend group was not like other students that they dealt with. If they suspended us for any amount of time, they viewed it as a vacation. They slap us in ISS for any amount of time, all of our friends are in ISS. We're just hanging out with them. None of the people in my friend group cared about the punishment they gave us whatsoever. They expected us to get in trouble enough times to curve us the right direction, but nobody cared. Nobody cared about how many times they were getting suspended. So this is when they decided they need to take a different approach. No matter how minuscule, how small, no matter what you did at this school, you would get sent to the office now. If you were part of my friend group and they know you were, they told the teachers that we were on something called a no-fly list, and anything they do to report to the office and send us to the office. So now you're going to the office for basically anything you do wrong. You could spill a glass of water on yourself and get sent to the office, and they would call your parents and start capping their ass off. They would lie so much. Like, they would call up your parents, basically forge a completely different story, tailor fit with lies and all types of bad stuff to blow the story so out of proportion that they can mutilate it whatever way they want to make it seem 1,000 times worse to your parents. So that way when you get sent home and suspended, they are livid. They want you anywhere but that school. They would just lie to your parents constantly. The school had an agenda and they were moving fast. Their whole goal with the phone calls was to make your parents so mad at you that they would just pull you from the school, transfer you to a different one, and pray you stopped getting in trouble. And if that didn't work, they were just going to give you enough suspensions, detentions, and violations to the point where the school board could either expel you or forcibly move you to a different school that they called a secondary delinquent school for rejects and troublemakers. The school had a plan and we had targets on our backs. But that wasn't going to stop my friends from doing absolutely anything. I mean, let's face it, my friends were absolute idiots. I mean, they were getting caught every single day doing all types of substances, vaping, caught with all types of stuff they shouldn't have at school. And so they would get put on contracts from how much they got caught. These contracts, they would have to sign to the school stating they promised to wear a clear backpack to school. And before they go to first period, they have to get searched at like 7 a.m. every single day to start their day. Before they go to lunch, searched again. After lunch, searched again. Sometimes even searched a fourth time at the end of the day, and at any given point they could just call your classroom and be like, hey, send down so-and-so, we need to search them, and you'd have to go down and comply, otherwise you're expelled because you signed for that. But this wasn't stopping anything, because if you have a clear backpack and you're getting searched at the beginning of the day, you have 30 to 40 other fiends and friends that you can just give your stuff to. We would just play a game of hot potato, passing everything around while everyone else would go and get searched until you got your stuff back. I mean, it was foolproof. There was no way to get in any type of trouble. And when my friend group did get in trouble, it would be all of us getting in trouble. Because anytime one bad thing happened in the school, all of us were there to the point where it was witness statements. They need all of us to come in there. And we would just treat this like a police interrogation. Every single one of my friends would go in there and they would not say dog shit. They wouldn't answer a single question. They wouldn't even talk until the school would get fed up and just like send them out to ISS. Then I would get in there. They thought of me as like the friend group's lawyer. You know what I mean? Like anytime there was a problem, this mouth can get us out of it. I mean, pause, but I can talk us out of this. You know what I mean? Like I'm real good with my words. So whenever I'd go in there, I would just start capping my ass off. I would make them confused on the points of the story story that were way less bad, so that way they would focus on stuff that wasn't too bad and we would end up getting off scot-free, not really any trouble at all. But just because they bought my story does not mean that they believed my story, because shortly after this came the publicization of the no-fly list. And I've talked to my homeboy James since my last recording, and he reminded me they actually just called us frequent flyers, so I'm gonna fix that little detail right quick. But they decided to publish the frequent flyers list because before it was only really accessible to the office and teachers who had kids on the list, just like people of interest essentially. But now it was like they wanted a bounty on our heads. They released this to every single teacher and essentially just told them it was a list of kids to keep a lookout for. All the ones who were troubled students, just causing damage to the school, menaces, doing drugs, just doing anything you shouldn't be doing at school. Which happened to be just my friend group on that list. I mean, they didn't even hide it. There wasn't any upperclassmen on there. It was literally just my friend group on this list. And after that was created, suddenly every single teacher in the school knew my name. It was like I had a bounty on top of my head, like I was a wanted criminal or something. I would be walking through a hall with senior classes and senior teachers as a second semester freshman, and they would know me by name, by face, by everything, and I've never seen them in my life. On top of this, they also hired the best performing security guard in the entire school district. They made him transfer from his normal school over to ours because our school had such bad rates of just like delinquent kids, I guess, compared to all the other schools, that he was needed here. He was forcibly transferred there to take care of my friend group. So now there's at least 6 to 7 security guards, and it's full-blown war between us and the school. We have people on the inside and they have people on the inside of our friend group. There's double agents in the staff and in the students. The ISS lady was on our side. She would take our vapes for us and hide them from the school so we wouldn't get suspended. One of the security guards, one of the female ones, because we had 2 female security guards, one of them was selling Xans, Oxy, any pills you can think of, she was selling to the students. You'd think you're caught until you buy some stuff off of her and she's like, yeah, let me know if you need anything else, you're safe with me, you know what I mean, I'm not going to tell it. You're a security guard. Like, it was shocking. And so this is just an ongoing war between all of us. But the only reason we had to step ahead of them is because of Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous was the group chat where all the fiends were located. It was a group chat that I actually named, I think like maybe a month and a half prior to this whole thing I'm talking about right now. And every single one of us was in this group chat. You would find out if you're going to get searched in this group chat hours before you actually got searched. We had so much insider information that this group chat was just comms. We knew what was going to happen, where it was going to happen, what time, and we would just plan around that so we would never get caught. The school kept adding more and more rules, regulations, and guidelines that we had to follow. They were becoming super strict and wanted complete control over everything happening in the school. It was a constant battle every day between my friend group in the school to see who was one step ahead of each other and who was going to fold first. Because every single rule that they were adding and making us follow, we didn't think should even exist. We had just gone through elementary and middle school expecting to get more freedom in high school. Now we are getting rules that have never even been imposed on us when we were children. They're becoming so strict on us and we just think it's stupid. So we're fighting back against it because we don't think any of the rules should exist. Every single day, it is a back and forth battle because we want freedom and the school is trying to turn into a prestigious boarding school type of thing. Like, they want to become a charter school. They see it as we're in the way. We see it as they're in our way as we're growing up trying to get freedom. So we would just constantly were fighting back. School started to get so strict and bad that kids would just skip almost the whole year. About 10 kids from my friend group would come to school at 7 in the morning just to go to the gas station across the street and get high all day, start to finish, until the bell rang, and they would just stay at the gas station posted every single minute of the day, not even going to actual school, just going to the gas station to be a fiend. And it didn't stop outside of the school. The bathrooms were turning into complete and utter war zones. There was one specific bathroom. It was called AB bathroom. And if you went there before first period started at the beginning of the day, every single time you would open the door, there would be 20 kids standing in a circle, all passing around bottles, pens, vapes. They're just chiefing. In the middle, kids would be slapboxing, a kid would be getting pressed, or it would just be no one in there. And on the outside, kids would be crushing pills down on the urinals and snorting them off of the urinals at 7 in the morning. And then in the stalls, kids would be snorting the same things off of toilet paper dispensers. The school was turning bad, and the rules were just making it even worse because 90% of the kids in this friend group already had a terrible terrible life outside of school, in school. All of us are addicts because our life is terrible. And so the school making more and more rules just made a lot of my friends do more and more and more and more drugs. And we started just rampaging throughout the school to a point they got a golf cart for the security team so that way they could patrol all around the campus and get posted up as close to Maverick as they could without being off of school property so they could take notes. They would take notes and names and make lists of every single kid who was going to Maverick and doing certain things. They even got in contact with Maverick and the owners of the gas station to trade security footage because we were stealing so much from them. They just wanted all of us gone as much as the school did. So they were trading security tapes. They were getting as much evidence as they could on you so that the next time you slipped up, it would be the last time you ever slipped up and you would be forced to transfer schools no matter what. The school would even call cops to Maverick on lunch so that way some of us would potentially get arrested, and most of the time no one got arrested. Some kids would get detained. We just all have to sprint away from there. Sometimes they'd even take the golf cart all the way over to the gas station just to pull up on us, and it was getting super bad. Kids were getting cracked down on so much and they hated school so much that some of them just started transferring on their own. The school finding out about Maverick was one of the worst things that could have possibly happened because from the school's perspective, everything inside the school is already spiraling to a state they have never seen it before, and it's worse than it's ever been. Rates of fights, all-time high. Vandalism, destruction, all-time high. Stealing, theft, all-time high. Vaping, drug, anything you can think of that's bad was at an all-time high just from my freshman year class. And so kids on the school doing things were moving fairly smart because they know bathrooms are dead zones, locker rooms are dead zones. There's certain spots where you can do things and there's no evidence it happened. Kids would normally go there. But when they went to Maverick, they would let their guard down. They don't think the school's watching them. They're on their lunch break. They're not even on school property. So once they started doing recon and taking notes, they were connecting dots that they never would have been able to. They were finding out how everyone was related to each other, who was doing what. They would take vivid and descriptive notes of everything going on at that gas station. And once they got the security tapes, it was basically wraps because if you got caught doing anything, now they had every single piece of evidence to just basically get you expelled type of thing. So it was a really bad situation. And kids at Maverick were only doing bad things. Like, I can't stress enough that everything and anything happened at this gas station, but none of it was good. Not a single thing was good. Fights every day, selling, like anything you could think of was happening at this gas station. Bare minimum, we got the cops called on us 4 to 5 times by the school and random people to this gas station just on our 20-minute lunch break. Things got so out of control so quick. The second lunch started, people were basically calling the cops because of how bad things were getting at that gas station. And it was just a terrible situation for everyone all around because we knew if they kept paying this close attention, things were bound to slip up, so we had to move even smarter. So much crazy shit was happening every single day that it was genuinely like the memes of crazy shit happening when you miss one day of school. On average, there was a fight every other day for the entire duration of my freshman year. For periods of time, there would even be multiple fights every day for like 2-week stretches. There were just constant fights because it's very important for y'all to know that my town is a druggy town. Addiction runs rampant through my town, and it's genuinely a problem in the youth. All of my friend group, my entire friend group of like 40 people were just severe pillheads and drug addicts. Like, every single person in this friend group was at such a low point in their life that they were just falling lower and lower and lower until they picked up drugs as a crutch to carry them through life. All of us felt like black sheep, kind of like outcast type things. We didn't feel like most of our family actually loved us, and our friend group was our support system, and it was really the only thing we had in life. All of us were just doing more and more and more and more and more drugs, and we were basically, our entire freshman year was just one long bender from my entire friend group. Not one person would be sober any given day of the entire school year. And with all the drugs we were doing, it was bound to catch up to one of us because on May 10th, 2021, my good friend Michael died. He was addicted to pills just like the rest of us, and he just happened to get fentanyl inside of one of his pills, taking his life at only the age of 14. And I found out about this the same exact way I found out about every single other thing. Alcoholics Anonymous. I have insomnia, and so this specific night I was up extremely late. I just was restless. I couldn't sleep, but something felt different. I knew that I was up for a reason until eventually it hit about 4:30 in the morning, and I finally closed my eyes to go to bed. And then suddenly my phone started ringing. So I look over. The group chat's calling me. Normally I would never answer something that late because I really needed to go to sleep. I had school the next morning, but something was telling me to answer this call. So I answered the call, and one of my friends is sobbing on the other side as 2 more people joined the call. He explained explains to me that his grandma lives across the street from Michael and that he saw an ambulance pull up to Michael's house and take him away. Most of the people on the group call thought that Michael was most likely still alive and that we were just being dramatic or overreacting. But deep down, I knew that this was not good. My entire frequency and vibration had been distorted the entire night, and I could just feel something was off, and this is what it was. And the second that I got off of that phone call, I somehow instantly got tired right then and there. I was wide awake the entire night. Second that phone call ended, I became super tired. I basically instantly fell asleep, and I started drifting away into this dream where I was chasing Michael around. We were on some type of island, just like isolated from everything else. I was chasing him through this forest as fast as I could. No matter how fast I was, he was faster. And I kept screaming his name, yelling as loud as I could. And no matter how loud I yelled, he just wouldn't respond. He wouldn't turn around. He'd just keep running. So I chased him all the way through this island, through these small towns, back into the forest until eventually we got to a beach and he ran into the water. And then as soon as he got in the water, he stopped and turned around to look at me. Right as he went to say something, I saw a gigantic wave going to crash down on top of him. So I went to dive to catch him to like say goodbye. And then the wave crashed down and he just wasn't there anymore. And suddenly I woke up and I knew right then and there that meant that Michael was definitely no longer with us. Not a single piece of me wanted to believe that this was true, but after waking up from that dream, I knew everything on that call last night was true. And now I was awake and I had to go to school, so I just threw on all my clothes, went over to school, and when I walked into that school, it just felt gray and like really just grim inside of the school. They had all of the teachers posted up in different areas like the cafeteria, the hallways, not in their normal classrooms. Every single teacher had a sheet of paper that had the name of the student who died, why they died, and just like a whole like summary essentially saying what happened. The teachers refused to tell anybody who had died on that sheet. I already knew that it was Michael and I just needed confirmation. They wouldn't even give me confirmation even when I told them I knew the name. They just told me, oh, we can't disclose it. Fuck, you got the piece of paper for then? Like what y'all are posted up looking like some NPCs to walk up and interact with, and y'all don't got no interaction? Like I was beyond lost about that. And then I went to my first period of class. In the middle of first period, they went onto the intercom, announced that Michael had passed away and that any of his friends were welcome to come to the library so that way they wouldn't have to sit in class. So I jumped out of my seat, and this was the longest, just like most like just depressing, like slow walk of my life through the school. It just felt like I was the only person walking through these halls until I got to the library. Every single one of my friends was in the library, taking up multiple tables. There's probably 6 to 8 tables filled with just everybody that I knew in the library already. And so we just all hung out in the library, went between just like talking and mourning for Michael and then just going to the bathroom and just chiefing the shit out of our carts. We spent the entire rest of this day and a lot of the following ones just bouncing back and forth from the library to the bathroom, just smoking and mourning the loss of our friend. We were extremely miserable and just depressed. We did not want to be at school. And at this time, a lot of the teachers and staff were being extremely disrespectful about Michael's death, saying he deserved what he had coming for him no matter what it was going to happen. It was the inevitable. He deserves to be in the ground, just on and on and on, going out of their ways to say the most disrespectful shit that they can about a dead kid who was our friend. We didn't take any of this lightly whatsoever, because as I explained, this isn't just a friend group. This was our family. Like me personally, my dad was a terrible father. He was an alcoholic. He never cared about me. He rarely ever would say, he maybe said I love you like maybe 30 times in the entire span of my life. And my mom ran away and left me when I was in 8th grade to have to stay strictly with my dad. I didn't feel a single soul in this world could understand me or love me. The only people I found that were able to understand me and make me feel welcome was this friend group. Every single one of us felt the same way. So if you were going to disrespect our dead friend who can't even defend himself, we are going to either beat the shit out of you or we are going to do some terrible shit. We would cuss out every single teacher. We'd threaten them, we'd corner them, and then we'd immediately get in trouble for it. The beef between us and the school was getting worse and worse and worse, and the death of Michael only pushed it further. The school had just destroyed any sliver of respect we still had left for them. Seeing them disrespect a dead 15-year-old like that genuinely made us sick. We are sitting here mourning the loss of our friend. Some of these people, it's the first death that they have ever experienced. And while all this is going on, you're going to simultaneously target us, try to get us kicked out of the school and in as much trouble as possible. Like, I'm not even kidding when I say this. We would be in the library. library. I would be holding back tears, so I would get up and I would go leave to walk around the school. As I'm walking around the school, thinking about taking my own life or throwing it away at the lowest point I've ever been at. Teachers are gonna see me, know that I'm on the no-fly list, and then they're gonna send me directly to the office where they're then gonna try to suspend me, give me ISS or detention for simply clearing my mind instead of taking it out on everyone else. Because I don't like using the term crash out because it's been very gentrified by some suburban white kids crashing out because their mom took their Xbox. But every single person in this friend group, our lives were so miserable that almost every single person was genuinely a crash out. We did not care about our lives. I have watched my friends actively throw away their lives for no reason at all, just because of how miserable they are. So this was like the final pushing block. Michael's death was like the final fucking stone tipped to sending us just into oblivion. We didn't fucking care about anything at this point. The school's gonna keep being disrespectful to us and our dead friend. We only have bad events happen one after another. Eventually, all of that is gonna lead to some type of collapse. So we just lost it right then and there. We decided that Michael would not want us to be sitting in this library sad, mourning about his death. Like if he was watching over us right now, this would make him sad. He would want us to use his death to skip school, have fun, not just sit here and cry in the library. Like, what are we doing, essentially? So we started making friends with all types of upperclassmen, which we already had quite a few upperclassmen friends, but then we would just take their keys and we would take their car and just go anywhere besides school because we started to realize our attendance was permanently here for every single class because our teachers knew we were in the library. So we could just do whatever we wanted. We started going anywhere besides school. We all knew with how we were feeling, we should not be at school right now because on an average day-to-day basis, I would sit in each of my class periods, every single class period, I would sit there and I would pray that somebody either in this class or in this school try to fight me, talk shit, press me, do something so I can kick the shit out them. I needed to release all this built up shit I had so bad. I would sit there praying every single day for a fade because I needed to fight somebody. And I talked to like at least 20% of my friend group who felt the same exact way as me. And this is before Michael died. Now we got all of this going on, and now what was already a hair trigger is basically a non-existent trigger. Anybody who even does anything even slightly disrespectful, we are most likely going to tweak the fuck out on. We're going to press them. We are going to slap this. Like, it was a bad situation. So we're like, we need to avoid getting in like juvie trouble by just leaving the school because one of us is going to end up fighting a teacher. And so what we ended up doing was just going out and doing whatever. There was like this mountain called Tubbs Hill that's in like downtown of my area by the lake. We would drive there, we'd go and smoke. We'd drive over to this dam over in Post Falls, we'd smoke there. We'd just continuously go to different places, smoke, and then we'd come back to school with like 2 hours to 30 minutes left in the day. I would collect my stuff and then I'd go home. We did this for 2 weeks straight and we're somehow still finessing the library. They keep trying to kick us out and we're like, no, we need more time. I mean, I can't really, I just need the library. We would just like act, you know what I mean? We would just like put on a show and they'd be like, no, it's okay, you can go in there. Because the librarians were hella nice. We could finesse them easy. So we would finesse them for the library. But after that 2 weeks was up, they had to do state testing, which meant we're kicked out the library and they have to have kids in there on the computers and shit. So we somehow managed to convince the counseling office to move all their stuff out of an office and give it to us. They just gave us somebody's office to chill in. We had this room indefinitely for however long we wanted. It had a door that shut and locked and there were no cameras in there. So now we could really do whatever we wanted. At this point, the initial friend group of around 40 people had been cut down somewhere between 25 to 30. The school was forcing kids to transfer to that delinquent school, and almost every kid who transferred ended up bringing their closest homie or just multiple friends with them to the other school. Some kids saw everyone else transferring and realized that the delinquent school would have less homework, more of their friends, and the school wouldn't be on their dick every 5 seconds. And so it'd just be way easier and they could actually live. So they just went to that school. And I mean, they weren't wrong about any of that. But I would be damned if I was going down without a fight. And also, my dad wouldn't let me transfer to the delinquent school even if I wanted to, so I didn't have much of a choice. In the midst of this war with the school, like half of our friend group is starting to leave. Regardless though, we still have around 25 of us left, so we still have a pretty big friend group. And we just spent the rest of our time this school year bullshitting in that office room for probably the next like week and a half until we had to go back to class because there was only about 2 weeks or so left of school and we had a lot of tests to do, so we got kicked up out the counselor's office. So So all of us had to go back to class to take our finals, tests, and whatever other schoolwork we had to do before the school year was over. So we all went back to class until eventually the school year was over. And this next year of high school is where things took a turn for the worse. By the time my sophomore year started, there was a record amount of teachers who had already quit. Not only was COVID in 2020 the highest rate of teachers quitting America had ever seen, but most of the teachers at our school were quitting because of the kids. All the teachers on freshman year that quit had given us lectures nonstop telling us that we were the worst generation they'd ever taught. Our class specifically was devil children and that they never wanted to teach again, and we'd ruined teaching for them. They said that they'd never seen any kids this bad in the past like 20, 30, 40 years of teaching. You guys know the speech the teachers give. And we had gotten this speech every single year since I was in 4th grade, but now they were genuinely losing it. So many freshman year teachers quit that they must have scared the sophomore teachers. They didn't even want to deal with us. They quit before we even became sophomores. Majority of the teachers who quit were freshmen and sophomore teachers because they just genuinely did not want to deal with us. So we were at a record low rate of both teachers and kids in our friend group because our freshman year had cut our numbers down so much that we were at probably half the number we had at our freshman year. But not for long, because so many kids decided to transfer schools over to ours by the time our sophomore year started. And not only that, the underclassmen, the freshmen right below us, were on our exact type of timing. But the school was making it very clear this was going to be a strict school and they were done messing around. They were imposing so many new rules around clothing, cell phones, hall passes, bathrooms, anything you can think of top to bottom, they were imposing new rules on. They even made it very clear to us that every single COVID restriction was gone completely. Anytime a sophomore would try to go off campus, they would either suspend you or give you ISS because they were going back to what they had before COVID of only freshmen and sophomore allowed off campus. But obviously, we did not like that. We're like, you're allowing us off as freshmen, but not sophomore? Fuck all that. We are getting off campus. Not a single person listened to any of the new rules that they were imposing because they were so stupid. They were trying to get so strict on us to the point where it felt like they were controlling every breath we inhaled and exhaled. This was the first time in my entire schooling that I saw like the goody two-shoes teachers' pet kids breaking the rules. Because there were so many rules, it was impossible not to break them. And what we didn't know was the school board was getting pissed at my school, my principals, everyone there, because before my grade entered this school in like the district of high schools, they were trying to turn them into like the most prestigious high schools with like the best rates and just best schools in Idaho. That was the school district's goal. My grade had apparently been ruining this for every single high school in the area, but every other school was controlling them better than my school. My school was having such severe problems that the school board essentially said, y'all can take care of this, and if you don't, we will come here and do it ourselves. Whenever I'd see the school board at our school, which was very, very consistently, it looked like all the principals and teachers were being held at gunpoint to get the school in control because they couldn't do anything. Every single teacher had even harder restrictions on them because if they couldn't get us in control, I'm fairly sure they were either going to like lose their job, not get a bonus, some type of thing, because they were terrified of the school board. They were trying so hard to impose every single rule, but it just didn't work. None of my grade listened. And the first time I went to Maverick this school year is when I realized how crazy things were going to be, because we lost a lot of our friends and just like, I guess, overall like fuckers, whatever you want to call them, from the school, like making them go to other schools. But from new kids, transfers, and the underclassmen, there were so many people at this gas station. The only people you would see at this gas station were the ones who were not allowed off of campus, because the juniors and seniors were allowed off campus, could basically go wherever they wanted, and they had licenses and cars, so they would go anywhere besides the gas station across the street. When I was a freshman, the sophomores above us were never allowed to leave campus when they were freshmen, so they just didn't really break the rules. And my friend group and my grade were the first like underclassmen who were ever allowed to leave campus, and we were the first people to really like conquer the gas station and turn it into like a frat party looking thing every single time it was lunchtime. So now that we're adding these underclassmen to the equation, things got terrible because all these freshmen really, really wanted our respect. They wanted to be friends with us. They wanted to hang out so bad, but almost all of my friends thought that they were just extremely annoying. They would just bitch them down. They would like just treat them like dirt dirt that they walked on top of. And that made these freshmen even more annoyed because they wanted our respect so bad, they wanted to hang around us. They would start just causing mayhem, going into the store, stealing all types of stuff to give to us as offering. They would just like go around fighting people, doing all types of crazy shit to tell us the story and be like, this is what I just did. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Whole time, all they're doing is attracting more attention to the gas station and what we're doing. So we don't think this is cool. We're kind of like, y'all need to fucking chill out. And they're just doing all types of crazy shit and then going around and bragging out about it to everyone because they want everyone to think they're cool and hanging out with us, and like all types of stuff is going on. And that's when all of these underclassmen start spreading word about the gas station to all their friends. They're telling all their friends, yo, you got to get cool with this group. You got to come to the gas station. The craziest stuff happens here during lunch. You got to come. So they're telling all their friends this stuff. Now, whenever me or any of my friend group is walking through the halls, all these underclassmen are coming up to us, trying to dap us up, trying to talk to us, trying to get cool with us so that way they could go to the gas station. Because since my friend group was so big, if we had any beef with anyone, whether it was us not liking them or them not liking us, if they went to the gas station, it was basically on site. We were throwing hands no matter what was going on. So my friend group almost controlled the gas station in a sense. If you watch my other videos, you know that I used to do all types of dumb shit and sneak out constantly, mainly with my friend James. Well, every single other person in my friend group was doing equally, if not more dumb shit than me and James were doing on a regular basis. And we would all sneak out, do dumb shit at school. Wherever we were doing like anything bad, we would come back to Maverick and tell everyone about it the next day or like whenever the weekend was over. Maverick was where we'd congregate and tell all these stories back and forth one after another. And the more stories we would tell, the more rumors would spread as well, because normally how it would start was we'd be around the tables at Maverick. You'd start telling one person the story. Slowly, everyone gets more and more quiet until everyone at the lunch is paying attention to the one story. If the story's crazy enough, that's when most people go and tell the highlights to the rest of their friends. The highlights, they always exaggerate until it's like a snowball effect, getting crazier and crazier and crazier until it spreads like wildfire and people have to come up to you to confirm if it's true. But with that many people talking about it, the teachers here, the underclassmen who are just talking crazy about everything that's going on, have no idea that their names and our names are on the no-flight list. They have no idea that they're being watched like we do. So they're talking crazy about everything that's going on, exaggerating all types of detail. Teachers hear about this, they report it to the principal. Next thing you know, you get called into the office because of these stories that have been getting spread around the school. They have to confirm if the rumors of what you've been doing around the school are true. Obviously, you deny it. They don't have enough evidence, but the claims keep coming, so they keep calling you in until eventually the school started to label my friend group the mob. They started calling us the mob because we were just a mob of drugged out fuckers, like at least 40 of us, just a big old mob of people always doing terrible shit. Come to find out, they also gave us this name because they thought that we were a gang. The whole school board and our school, every single person like admin staff or above them that was in the district working, thought that Lake City had a gang, and they thought that me, James, and a couple other people were the ringleaders of this gang. We live in North Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Idaho and gang should never even be in the same sentence. Like, I don't understand where that came from. I was genuinely in shock when I was told this because they're trying to make it out like we're some type of gang or we're a mob controlling the school and just terrorizing it, which from a certain standpoint, I guess I can see where they're coming from, but I just laughed. I'm like, these people are my family. We're not a gang. We're each other's support system. None of us really have anyone at home we can go to, trust, or keep us out of trouble. We have to do that for each other. From your standpoint, sure, it looks like we do a lot of stupid shit because we do, but this is surface level. We stop each other from doing the even crazier stuff that would genuinely get us put in juvie or anything like that. And anybody else in the school who's bullying people, being crazy disrespectful, putting their hands on a female, or just doing outlandish shit for no reason, we were gonna check them and make sure that they weren't doing stupid shit. All it came down to was respect. If people were doing some crazy things, we were gonna keep them in check. If something terrible was gonna happen at the school, we were the first people to find out about it and either stop it or change the situation from being worse than it was. But they just could not see that. And I told them all this, and they just made it seem like we were more of a gang. Like, all the words that just said is exactly what I told them. And they just looked at me and said, that just sounds like a gang. So I'm like, I don't know what you really want from me, but it was only the first month of school and we are already back at war with the school and much worse than before. And we couldn't even make it a full month through school before another one of our homies died. On September 10th, our friend Deacon ended his own life, shot himself in the head, but this was nothing like when Michael died. We actually at least somewhat knew if it was Michael who died. This time, we just showed up to school and in the morning, all the teachers are standing in those same spots, holding the same piece of paper. So we all know that somebody's dead, but they're not giving any information, not a name, not any detail, nothing. You just go up to them and they're like, yep, someone's dead. Then just that's it. Like, I don't understand the system there, but that's what they had. They just wouldn't tell anyone information. So since this is high school, obviously names are spreading through the halls like wildfire. Because I mean, someone's dead. We're all trying to figure it out who it is. And that's when I hear the name Deacon, my friend. My stomach dropped to the bottom of my stomach. This is around the same time I heard this, the group chat starts blowing up. People are all texting like, guys, I think it's Deacon, like what's going on? So every single person, like all 30 people in this group chat are spam texting, spam calling Deacon, not a single response from him. So we're all panicking. We end up just leaving class, trying to like meet up together, piece together any information that we have. And I will never forget this. As we all met up out of class, we're all walking around the halls trying to find as much information out as we can. And we're just really confused, like kind of just scrambling. And this is when we ran into the vice principal, the same lady who is the like discipline lady who wants us out of the school. As soon as I saw her, I could tell the whole group wanted to go up and ask if it was Deacon, but no one was moving and no one was talking. We had basically decided it was Deacon. From all the information we were able to piece together, we knew it was him, but there was just nothing to confirm this. We were just sitting basically waiting to find out if our feelings were true. And this is bringing up all of the past feelings we've been desperately trying to run away from. Michael died May 10th. Deacon died September 10th. 4 months apart to the exact day. So we are just in disbelief that this is actually what's going on. And so eventually we're just slowly walking closer to Miss Johnson. And once we get up to her, I finally speak up. I'm like, who was it? She starts saying, oh no, I can't tell. I cut her off. Who was it? She still tries to say that she can't tell us who did it. And I'm like, no, was it Deacon? Was it Deacon? And I'm holding back tears. And she says, yes, it was Deacon. And this time they did not care he died. When Michael initially died, they gave us the library and they let us mourn. This time, they did not give a shit about us. They went out of their way to make sure all of us were in class and couldn't get any help, not even from counselors, not the library. They made sure we were on lockdown in our own classes, not even able to meet up with each other. And like, they were doing all types of stuff, going out of their way to mark us absent because they wanted us out of the school so bad. And from our standpoint, our second friend in 4 months just died. We are focused on anything but this stupid war with the school. We just want to live our lives. We're mourning, we're sad. When Michael died, 90% of my friend group started to sober up, get off of all types of pills, all types of drugs that they were doing. And now we're fighting sobriety and depression and suicide. Every single thing we're fighting. And the school is still just not even looking our direction, not offering any help. They're just making things even worse. The school saw the state we were in, and where most schools would start to help their students so that way they would stop being suicidal or using substances or just doing anything that would harm their life or cause it to an end, our school just became 10 times stricter, thinking it's a chance to control us. They started being way worse on every single one of us, thinking that it would make us controllable. All that it did was break us. It got us so pissed off because the school is not showing an ounce of respect to any of our dead friends or any of us. So we don't feel like y'all deserve any of our respect, and you're gonna just keep being dicks to us every single day, worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It got to the point where we're now cussing out a teacher or staff member every single day. Individually, all of us are cussing out a teacher or staff member once a day. All of us are getting sent to the office every single day. Like, things are getting worse and worse and worse. And all the kids who stopped doing substances because of Michael are starting to use again. And if they're not using, they're just drinking and getting high 24/7 at school, or just not even showing up. A lot of the kids were so depressed and suicidal from the death of 2 of their friends that they stopped going to school. And instead of trying to help them, get them back into school, get them back on track with their young lives, the school would threaten truancy on them. If you don't know what truancy is, if you miss enough days at school, the actual board of the school can charge you with truancy, which means that your parent will get arrested or charged or bare minimum fined, and you are forced to transfer schools. So not only do you get in trouble, but so do the parents, and it makes you transfer schools. So they were trying to force this on so many of us, even though we were just depressed. The school wanted my friend group gone by any means necessary. Every week I would find out about new friends who were either forced to transfer schools or they were just transferring on their own because how bad things were getting at the school. You literally couldn't do anything. If you were in my friend group, you were so monitored to the point that if you just lived your life without doing anything, you were getting called to the office bare minimum once a day to once every other day. Even just being normal, not doing anything, you would get called down just because. And it was getting so bad that my friends were just deciding to transfer. But before they were going to transfer, they were going to do some bullshit. We figured really quickly that they just don't care about us. It doesn't matter what we do, no matter what, they're going to treat us like this. So why should we care about their school? We're going to start destroying it. Around this same time, the devious lick trend was going on. Anyone on TikTok in 2021 remembers the devious lick trend. People would go around their school breaking anything, stealing anything, just literally dismantling, tearing apart their school to this one song, and then they would post it to TikTok for views. My school just did it for love of the game. They didn't even record. All of my friends, for the most part, were fairly stupid to the point where if they had Snapchat, they were posting themselves at parties, doing drugs, doing anything stupid was always on their stories. They were smart enough not to record anything they did at the school, especially since they were going to transfer at some point anyway. So, I mean, why record yourself doing something incriminating if you're already monitored by the school? No one would record anything. And it's good because not only were we monitored by the school, we were also being monitored by the FBI. The majority of my friend group were either dealers, plugs, or fake thugs, so they were getting arrested a lot. And anytime my dealer friends got arrested, their phone would get seized and searched for evidence, meaning they would go through all of their Snapchat, anything that was on there, and they would even use it to bait people into buying substances from those people. And so whenever they would get their phone searched, we would have to all leave the Alcoholics Anonymous group chat because this group chat was the most incriminating thing any of us had on any of our phones. There was so much bad stuff in there that anytime someone got arrested, we would all just have to leave the group chat and it would delete anything that we'd sent in there, erasing any evidence of what we'd been doing in this group chat. And by now, we are on part 13 of this group chat and it's only been a thing for 8 months. There's way too much stuff in there. And little did we know, the school was monitoring our friend group and kind of mapping us out. So were the local police. Throughout everyone's stories, they were making connections to all of us and they were mapping us out as well. We thought we were playing chess against the school, but the police already had checkmate on a lot of my friends and it was bad. My school was starting to turn into a war zone because with everything that had been going on between my friend group and the school, we were obviously terrorizing and destroying a lot of things in the school, but we were not the only ones. They had been trying to get way more strict on every single grade and every single student, applying way more rules, trying to be way more controlling, and nobody was fucking with it. A lot of the students saw what we were doing and just started doing the same thing. And there was so much damage being caused to the school, and they knew that majority of it was our friend group, but they couldn't prove it was our friend group. They knew that we were too smart to all be caught at once, so they had to pluck us off one by one, which made us even more mad because our friends would get forced to transfer schools or be just suspended for the stupidest thing. Because if they caught you just like walking to the bathroom without a bathroom pass, they would try to give you ISS because that was half a suspension closer to getting you kicked out of the school. Anything you did wrong, if you were caught, they were going to get you in as much trouble as they could because they knew you were doing other stuff, they just could not prove it. So we would rampage even worse when they would suspend our friends for just stupid reasons or make them transfer. It was getting bad. Every single thing in the school was getting stolen. People were leveling the bathrooms, every single, not just the stall doors, the dividers, wall urinals, everything's just on the floor scattered. People were stealing cameras, urinal sensors, taking down random just doors, stealing every single lunch tray. Like I could go on and on about anything you can think of at the school that can be taken or shouldn't be taken was getting taken. Even fucking fire alarms were getting pulled off. Everyone was stealing everything and it was getting out of hand. Even the kids who weren't stealing stuff and rampaging around the school were vandalizing stuff with paint markers or just doing something crazy. Every day at lunch, I would be sitting at the same table at Maverick until eventually one of my friends would come up to the table and just toss something on that they'd stolen from the day. Whether it was a urinal sensor, the chains holding the bathroom open, or even teachers' key cards. They were stealing anything and it felt like a competition because from what I've explained, y'all know how many people are normally at this gas station. All the underclassmen are seeing everyone else steal all this stuff like it's a competition, see who can steal the craziest thing. Now every single person is getting themselves involved stealing anything, coming to this gas station trying to prove themselves, be like, oh, this one's better than yesterday, nope, I beat you today. Like it genuinely turned into a competition of who could steal the hardest item at school. Kids are starting to get caught and every single thing you can possibly think of was getting stolen. It got to the point the school started putting bounties out. Every single wall, mirror, anywhere you went, you would see a flyer that said something like $50 to $100 reward for information on people stealing. One kid took that offer one time, went, snitched on someone, that person got in trouble. Instead of giving the kid money, They gave them like $25 in school currency. They made it seem like it was going to be actual money. It was just school currency. After like the good kids and like the nerdier ones who weren't participating in this found out the school lied to them, they just stopped caring altogether. And this is when every day of school felt like a riot. The school was getting more and more pissed off every single day because out of every single school, elementary to high school, the board was only focused on my school. It had genuinely gotten so out of hand that the board members decided to come in and see what was going on for themselves. Every day of school, there was about 5 to 6 board members spread across the school just analyzing and seeing what was going on, because last year, school was terrible. And it was clear that it was only getting more and more out of control and the school couldn't do a single thing about it. All the students were running rampant, doing whatever they wanted. Freshman year, only really my friend group was acting out a lot. Then more and more kids started joining in on what we were doing because the school tried to enforce more and more rules. The more rules that they enforced, the less kids followed them. And the only kids by our sophomore year they had left following the rules were the kids who would actually snitch on us. Then they scammed them out of $50 and made it school money. So now they didn't even trust them. The good kids weren't even following the rules. The whole school was out of control, like genuinely so bad. And the staff and teachers are stressed out because the board is screaming at them. Because from their perspective, right, they'll gotta understand. I mentioned before that this school was on track to becoming a prestigious school. We had like the best ranked basketball team in the entire state. Our test scores were amazing, like best in the district. Like we were doing really, really good. And from the school board's perspective, it took 1 year for all of that to get destroyed. The second my class came into school, not only did we destroy their test scores, but we also destroyed the school itself. And from COVID the year before this, we had a record amount of teachers quit, not only from just COVID, but also from our class because they did not want to deal with us. So not only are they low on teachers, but they also didn't pass the levy. The levy is what funds the school and gives them money. So they now are completely understaffed. The levy didn't pass, so they're making no money to get the school together. Their test scores are just bombing and they can't do a single thing about it. And with nobody else to blame, the staff told the school board that we were the problem. Which, I mean, obviously was pretty true, but not entirely true though. Not entirely true because they could not run this school for the life of them. We were extremely understaffed on teachers and they were scrambling because with a full staff last year, they couldn't control us. And now the school is only getting worse in its entirety. So they're trying to hire anyone they can for teacher positions. They're hiring substitutes as full-time teachers. They even took fresh college graduates and just gave them a job on the spot. Normally as a teacher, you have to do like 2 to 4 years of shadow work in another classroom before they even think about giving you a job. They were just giving them right off the spot. But the kids would treat these teachers so bad that they would just instantly quit. You gotta remember, last year was COVID. The year before that, school got cut short. We haven't done real schoolwork in over a year and a half, and none of these kids want to go back to regular school, which is what this year was supposed to be. My Spanish class went through bare minimum 5 to 6 teachers in 1 semester. Every class without communication just realized if we make them quit, we'll get a brand new teacher and they won't know what's going on. So we'll just keep getting the same assignments over and over again and just basically not go anywhere because none of us know Spanish. Without communication, they made this teachers crash out so bad that they broke 2 phones in separate classes and got banned from the school permanently, only to be rehired on as a permanent teacher because they needed teachers and staff that bad to control the school. It was becoming a problem and the students were unbelievably out of control. And my friends were getting caught with literally everything. They made to a point where like if you missed enough days, it could also count towards you getting like suspended or getting thrown to a different school. And so my friends had been cut down. It took 2 months of the first semester for my friend group to lose at least 10 of the people to suspenses and almost expulsions, and then like 10 more left on their own. So by the second month of school, we only have like 15 to 20 people in our friend group, but they cut out all the stupid ones. All the ones who are really easy to get caught. If you're getting caught that many times first 2 months of school, you're stupid, right? So now it's just down to the main circle. But the problem was, the more kids that they suspended and made transfer, kids just kept transferring to the school. And I mean, most of them didn't end up in our friend group. They weren't our type of vibe, but this does lead us to the main point of how this entire thing came crashing down. Dan transferred to our school from another one of the schools in our district, and he was already friends with a lot of the people I knew, but I did not like him. He just had this really weird vibe, and I couldn't place what it was, but about 25% of my friend group also just did not like him. He just had this weird vibe to him, but like there weren't any problems, so we weren't gonna cause any, you know? Like he's a homie's homie. He's basically a homie in law. So like I might not like you, but I'm chill. I'm not gonna cause any problems. I just won't interact with you. but he wanted to interact with me. He seemed to think we were like best friends. And the whole problem here is, I don't know if I've explained this or not, but it's very important for y'all to know this for the rest of the story. My school schedule is not like a normal school. A normal school has like 7 to 8 periods all within one day, like 45-minute to 55-minute class periods, right? My school had 4 periods each day on what's called a block schedule. On A day, we would have a set 4 classes. B day would be the other 4 classes. They were an hour and a half each period, and you would alternate each day. Like on Monday, it would be an A day. On Tuesday, it would be a B day, and it would switch each week which one had 3 and which one had 2. This dude was in my first period on both of the days. I could not escape him. I had math with him one day and science the other day. And in my science class, I already had one of my other good homies, Bryson, there. Me and him were really good friends. And so whenever we go to do any type of projects like group work, Dan would just weasel his way into our group, and we'd like let him chill because once again, we're not trying to cause any problems. And whenever he would leave, me and Bryce would just talk shit on him like, dude, this guy is so weird. Like there was just genuinely something wrong with him. Whenever we would use microscopes, I shouldn't say whenever, this happened one time exclusively, but we bust out the microscopes and this dude gonna bust in his pants, pop out his pubes, pluck them out and put them under the microscope to look at. He was just genuinely so fucking weird, man. I just don't know. And slowly, I found out about more and more of my friends who disliked him. Everyone was slowly building their own reasons, and everyone was starting to think he was either weird or just didn't like him for some reason. Now about 50% of my friend group feels this way. About a week after this, word and allegations come out that he assaulted this chick, right? Now, normally, I don't know this guy. He's my friend's friend. I could care less what he does with his life. But something like this, fuck no, this is some weird ass shit. I'm not gonna be in the presence of someone doing like, this is bad. Like, as I explained before, anyone in our friend group, we always kept each other in check. If someone was doing something downright terrible, we might even jump them. We're gonna knock some sense into them, you know what I mean? And so this kid is doing this type of stuff, and now he's part of our friend group. So now we feel the role like we gotta go and handle this, you know what I mean? No one else is gonna do anything, so we gotta knock some sense into this kid, right? And so, but before we're gonna do that, we need to know if this is true. False allegations happen all the time, so we're not gonna just jump to any conclusions, you know what I mean? At least I'm not. So slowly, we all start talking, you know what I'm saying, behind Dan's back. He doesn't know that we know all this. We end up getting in contact with the chick. She starts showing us these videos of like her being all banged, bruised up, like all sorts of bad videos. She even said that she was cut open, got her head slammed into the wall. Like she has all types of stuff. And apparently the police and schools didn't want to do a single thing about it. They would say that there wasn't enough evidence, they need DNA, they need this, they need that, and it's just ridiculous because almost every girl who gets sexually assaulted will feel so disgusted with themselves after the fact it happens that they will hop in the shower and scrub every inch of their body to try to get rid of that disgust, but they also get rid of any DNA evidence left over, meaning that there's really nothing that they can do because if there's no DNA evidence, most of the time the police won't even look into it, right? And so we tried to get as much information, as many videos, just as much information on this whole subject as we could, and that's when things got really, really bad for Dan because throughout this first freshman year up into our sophomore year of high school, we had gained the respect of all types of people. Once we were sophomores, the underclassmen already loved us. They were trying to do everything that we were doing. They really wanted our respect. Even the upperclassmen had respect for us though because, as I explained, we never did anything that wasn't deserved. The authority in our school was not there, and if something bad was happening, we weren't just gonna let it happen. We were gonna try and take care of it, let you know what you're doing is wrong, and like we weren't just going around bullying people, doing anything just like absolutely crazy to other people. We stuck to our friend group, and it even got to the point where some people would come up to me and tell me who was bullying them, and we would go take care of it for them, and they would get left alone. We had a sense of security and respect built up with a lot of the people in this school. So once they found out that we dropped Dan and what the reasons for dropping Dan were, he could not walk through the halls because all the people in the school built up respect for us. They knew that we didn't lie, and if we were cutting him off and there was something was going on, it was something that needed to be taken seriously. So it got bad. This is when Dan started running to the principal's office every time something happened. Anyone said something in the hallways, he would run straight to the principal's office, snitch on every single person. And then the next day, someone would say something, he would get straight to ratting again. And so now the school's starting to realize Dan is on their side. This is unheard of. They have been waiting for just one person to be on their side and they can win this war. This is the one thing that they needed to take down our whole friend group because they had one person inside. The closest equivalent I can give to this is like any of y'all who watch Invincible, the school looked at my friend group as like Viltrumites. We're just a bunch of quote unquote killers, like fucking hard type of people who never go away from their people, extremely loyal, never turn on their own people. Dan was essentially like Mark Grayson, you know, joining the coalition of planets type of thing. Like they had finally had one person to turn the tide of this war and it was going to work. So they sided with him, protected him, and believed every word out of his mouth no matter what it was. And they wouldn't even listen to our side or ask about it 90% of the time. They would just suspend us, right? And the only person that the vice principal / like discipline lady would listen to was me. And I'd been strategically doing this since my freshman year because all of my other friends treated this like a police interaction where you're just dead silent, no nothing, right? My mind works differently in situations like this. I try to manipulate and gaslight you until my charges are much more minimal than they seem and I make you focus on different details. I'll bring your attention over to something else, make it seem like it was the biggest deal so that way you don't think about something else. By doing this to her this entire time, not only did she think that I would tell the truth to her, but she had way more trust in me than any other student. So I kept getting called down to Miss Johnson's office to talk basically every day because, like I said, she trusted me. To her knowledge, I had never lied to her, but I mean, I just had an emotionally unstable and very manipulative father, so I just knew how to play the game, to be honest. But this is when things started going downhill for us because, like I said, she trusted me over anybody in this school. Until Dan got in that office. So now whenever I'm going to talk to her, she no longer trusts me over Dan. And the worst part about this is not only is Dan have all these allegations for assault, he's also a compulsive liar. This dude lies about every single detail about his life, who he is, what he did yesterday, random stories. Nothing is ever consistent with him. So I knew he was going into this office and feeding them nothing but lies. But lies or not, the school would go off of Dan's tips and just suspend my friends, give them enough suspensions to threaten them with expulsion or transfer them schools. And at this point in time, I already hated my life so much. I would try to take my life every other night, mixing up pills, doing all types of different things. The only thing that was keeping me on this planet were my friends and mainly my little sister. But they're gonna take away all of my friends. The only place I have in this world where I can actually just be is school. But they successfully had ruined that for me and all of my friends a long time ago. And almost all of my friends, myself included, were at the lowest points in their entire life. 2 of our friends just died back to back within 5 months of each other. All of our other friends are getting forced out to school. All of our home lives and come-ups before this were so miserable that most of us did attempt on our lives to take it. And now the only safe place we have at the school is also completely ruined. So now the only people left in my friend group just do not value their lives, do not value their future, do not value anything, and are just ready to throw away their lives, end it over literally anything. Just a friend group filled with crash outs. And Dan was getting even worse because when allegations come out about someone, it's normally, you know, a split 50-50, he said, she said, what you believe. So 50% of the school, probably more like 75-80% of the school despised Dan. That little percentage that he had left over that didn't just absolutely hate him, he made hate them because he turned into the school's snitch. So now, basically everyone in the school hates Dan for different reasons, whether it's because he's snitching, lying, he assaulted that girl, allegations, whatever it is, people have ulterior reasons to hate him, and it's not just exclusive to our friend group. Everybody wants a fade with Dan. It got to the point where when I would see him ahead of me in the halls at passing period, in the sea of people, he would be getting pinballed around. Everyone's throwing him around, saying stuff to him like, I can tell his life is a living hell. And as I explained earlier, if people in the school or anyone around us, even in our friend group, was doing something extremely wrong and they were facing no repercussions for their actions, we were going to let them know what they were doing is wrong, the reasons, like they were going to get let known, you cannot be doing this, whether it was with force, just talking, whatever it was, they were going to get let known. Seeing this happen to Dan, I kind of just thought, his life is already hell. Everyone else is kind of doing their job for us. We don't really need to do much more than this. I don't want to get suspended. I'm kind of just going to step back. That's when he started snitching even more, lying even more, just causing even more issues. And now the whole school is starting to get in an outrage because this has gotten so much like, I guess, quote unquote, publicity in the school that it's what everybody is talking about. The school is sheltering and protecting the person causing all the problems while only giving discipline and just doing terrible shit to everybody else. But one fateful day, everything would change. If I'm not mistaken, it was the second week of November on a Friday, and this day of school, Dan threatened to shoot up the entire place. He had threats, and there were cops at the school. When I showed up, there was at least like 13 cop cars surrounding the school, and even more cops inside with guns patrolling to make sure nothing happened. This was the 3rd time this semester already he had threatened to shoot up the place, bring a bomb, or just do something. And so there were a bunch of cops in the school. And this specific day, I was already pissed. From 2 of my homies' deaths weighing down on me, the school not caring about anything but getting me and my friends out of the school and gone, everything going at home, I was livid. So I just got up from my desk, started walking out the school. I had music blasting in my AirPods. I'm just walking aimlessly, just thinking, just super pissed, super depressed, just all types of emotions. This is when I get to the top level of our lunchroom, and my school is literally set up like a prison. Like it's set up exactly like a prison. There is even the top level of the school that looks down on the lunchroom where the guards would normally be on prison lunches. So I'm on this top level looking down. This is when I see Dan sitting at the lunch table in the lunchroom, which this is like a really big deal because all of this stuff with Dan has been going on since like, I want to say either just the end of November or just the end of September to the start of November. Like this has probably been going on for like 3 weeks to the fullest potential, you know what I'm saying? And this entire time, he'd been hiding out in the office. This is the first time I'd seen him actually out in the school since all this has been going on, he'd hid in the office. Now he's out there. This is the day he threatened to shoot up the school and they just let him walk around, do whatever he wanted. Like this just shows how much they favor him. Anyone else threatens to shoot up the school, cops are there, they're arrested, they're getting talked to. It's a mental thing. They just let him walk free, roam, and do whatever he wanted. So after I saw Dan, I got on Snapchat and texted the Alcoholics Anonymous group chat to let everyone know that he was not in protection in the office and he was actually just outside. I had no idea that this text message would spiral into this entire story because shortly after I sent that text, like 3 people responded, and then 4, then 5, until the group chat was getting blown up and everybody was active in it. And this is when I found out that my friend Bryce was on his way to school. He had not been at school and didn't plan on coming to school today until he found this out. He then told his mom to give him a ride 45 minutes into school just to fight Dan. I knew that this meant shit was about to get bad because my whole friend group, for the most part, loved to fight. They loved the fade, you know what I'm saying? Always down to fight, slap box, whatever it is, they loved that. Bryce was a different level of loving to fight. This man did not care what time, what situation, what was going on. He was down to fight, no questions asked. Like, just to give you an idea on like what I mean by this, there was this one specific time in this same exact semester I'm talking about, earlier in this semester, I am going to my class. I'm walking about 10 minutes late after lunch, right? So the halls are like completely empty besides the teachers standing around waiting for kids to come in late to class. I turn the corner into the hall that I need. About 30 feet ahead of me, I see Bryce. The only people around him is like 6 teachers all talking, waiting for kids to come in late to class. 15 feet above him is the kid that he had beef with. Only us 3 students and them teachers. And like I mentioned, Bryce was one of my closest friends. So when I seen him in the hall, I started yelling his name, and this dude is gonna turn around, lock eyes with me. He literally just nodded at me and then started kicking the living shit out of this kid. Like, I don't want this video to get demonetized or taken down, so I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail of what he did, but just know within the span of 30 seconds, that other kid was on the ground bleeding, immobilized in the span of 30 seconds. The span of time it took the teachers to run over to stop this fight, not only was it already completely over, but Bryce had his hands behind his back and was walking to the teachers like he was getting arrested to be taken to the office, just accepting this is what was going to happen. He then proceeded to tell me he only did this because I was there to confirm this happened so people would not think he was lying. He beat up this kid with already a broken hand. He re-broke the hand in this fight, fractured the other hand, and now is coming to school just to beat up Dan with basically 2 broken hands. With Bryce on the way to school, the entire group chat was blowing up because everyone knew something was about to go down. And as I kind of explained before, my school is built like a prison. They literally took the blueprints of a prison and just made it into a school. There's the lunchroom and then like 4 or 5 hallways going out from it that normally would have prison cells, but instead it has classrooms. And then there's that top level where normally the guards would be, as I explained, that's where I am currently. So I'm up there at that like thing, looking down at the lunchroom, tracking every one of Dan's movements, seeing if he's leaving, because I gotta know where he is. I'm the eyes in this situation. And so I'm tracking everything that he's doing until eventually Bryce gets to school. Once Bryce gets to school, I run instantly over to him. I let him know what's up. I'm like, hey bro, he's still in that same spot. Like, you got this shit. Like, he gets there right about when lunch is starting. It's like perfect time. So I'm like, bro, he's literally right there. You got that shit, right? And so I say that to him. This man looked me dead in the face and says, yeah, I gotta take care of something first, and starts marching towards the bathroom on the top level. This dude gonna buy 10 carts off of one of our friends, toss them in his pocket, and just start walking downstairs. By now, at least like 6 to 8 of our friends had met up in this bathroom, and we're all walking in a group down to the lunchroom. By now, the bell has rang for lunch, and it's at least like a third of the kids at the school's time for lunch, so they're all flooding into the cafeteria. As we walk into the cafeteria, this dude Bryce goes straight up to Dan, no words, straight haymakers. And Dan was sitting on the lunch table. He fell off of that, is on the ground, curled up in a ball. He's getting his shit kicked, right? And this whole ordeal takes place in like maybe the span of 45, 50 seconds. The second that Bryce gets over there, a circle already starts forming around him, like, because all the kids at lunch watching this fight. Everyone has their phones out, everyone's recording. Bryce beats his ass and then instantly gets up and starts just running, trying to book it off campus because, like I explained, Dan made those threats this day. So the school had so many cops around, it was not even funny. So Bryce literally beat his ass and just started running like he was running from the cops, because I mean, he was. And so I had to hawk him down, give him his jacket back, and he ran straight off campus, did not come back. Since it was lunch and passing period, the hallways and the lunchroom were so crowded with people. So after Bryce beat his ass, he literally just disappeared through the crowd, exited throughout a different side of the school. So once he ran away, me and my whole friend group started slipping out, going the other way to exit the other side of the school over to where Maverick is off campus. And what's super weird about this whole thing, right, is there were threats for a school shooting. So there's cops everywhere. The entire time I was walking around, I remember seeing at least like 3 to 5 cops walking around the school at any given moment. The second that it became lunch, I didn't see any of the cops. Whether it was because they were on that top level watching lunch, like lunch is the biggest target. If someone's gonna shoot up the school, you need to be paying attention there. I saw no cops. They could have been at the top level and I genuinely just could not see them, but regardless, they were not in the lunchroom like I thought they would be. So Bryce literally just beat his ass, fled throughout there. We start pulling away, and this is when I see like one cop and some teachers going to check on Dan. Me and my friend group just slip away, go through a different exit, go off campus over to Maverick. After lunch is over, I walk back onto campus, go over to my class. I don't even get 1 foot through the door before my teacher's like, Owen, they need you in the office, because at this point I'm like, yeah, that's expected. You know, I have to go to the office. They don't even send me notes anymore. I'm at this office so consistently that they literally just tell me to go. I walk over there and I go into Miss Johnson's office, right? As I'm walking in there, her office is like, right, you have to walk past the ISS room to get to her office. I see multiple of my friends in there, James and a couple other my homies who were there at the fight. So I'm like, yeah, we about to get questioned, right? So I walk up in there and she told me to sit down. I sit down. She's like, so where did Bryce go? What happened? And I told him I don't know where he went, because like genuinely, truly, I had no idea where he went. I had no idea what his plan was. He lived 45 minutes from the school and was only there for 2 minutes after his mom dropped him off, and then he just ran away. I did not know where he went. She's like, well, next time he sets foot on this campus, he's expelled on terrorism charges. What the fuck did you just say? First off, I didn't even know people could be expelled on terrorism charges, but why is Bryce getting this instead of Dan? This man has threatened to shoot up the school 3 different times. He brings weapons to school. How is what Bryce did even close to terrorism? Like, I have so many questions I'm trying to cut in, but I can't. She just kept cutting me off until eventually she told me I was being suspended. I'm like, whoa, I'm being suspended? What am I being suspended for? She says recording the fight. I'm like, how am I being, so I'm like tweaking right here, and she just keeps telling me to be quiet. She's like, you're being suspended for 1 week for recording a fight. People get in actual fights and get suspended for less time than I got suspended for recording it. So I'm tweaking out. I'm like, what do you mean I'm being suspended? She's like, yeah, you and your friends in ISS, all of y'all are being suspended for recording the fight. It was lunchtime. Every single person in there was recording the fight. The only people who weren't were the ones without phones. And I saw Chromebooks recording too, so everybody was recording. So I'm like, you suspended them too? She's like, no, just you guys. So if that isn't clear that she's trying to get us out of school, I don't know how else to make it clear, because like, I'm trying to talk my way out of this, because this has nothing to do with me. Which, I mean, somehow, obviously, she knew it did, but how the fuck do you know that I'm actually associated with this? All I did was record the fight. Like, you should not actually know. How do you know this, right? And so my school had fights every other day, sometimes even up to 2 to 3 fights per day. And nobody ever got suspended for recording a fight until me. And my dad always overreacted to anything I did in my life, any small mistake, minor inconvenience, whatever it was, he overreacted every time. So I thought he was about to tear me apart when I got home, take away all my belongings, take off my door, and then ground me for bare minimum 3 months like he normally did. But to my surprise, this was the only time he was actually reasonable about my punishment. Once he found out I was suspended for a week for recording a fight, he actually said that that was stupid, didn't make any sense, and that he was not going to ground me. I just wasn't allowed to hang out with friends the whole week I was suspended for, which I mean, actually made sense. And I was really surprised about how reasonable he was with this one thing compared to everything else I'd done in my life that he got like just pissed off about for no reason. So that whole week went by. I didn't hang out with any friends. I just stayed at home, did my schoolwork like I was supposed to. The following week after the suspension was Thanksgiving break. So we had a full 2 weeks off school with the suspension. So once Thanksgiving break hit, I was no longer like quote unquote grounded or whatever. So I was allowed to hang out with friends. Little did I know, this was going to be the final detrimental mistake I made to get on the FBI watch list. Since it was Thanksgiving break and I was allowed to hang out with friends, I texted James to see if he could come over, but for whatever reason, he could not come over. I can't remember why. So I hit up my friend Gavin and he ends up coming over instead. Once he got over, we were just chilling for majority of the night, but he really wanted a cart. We didn't have any type of weed, no cart, no anything. So he hit up a plug and the plug stops by, we buy a cart, have to sneak out and get it, sneak back into my house, and we don't have a battery. So we have to cut up wires and take wire rips. We get baked as dog shit. Like, we get so high. And now it's just about 2 in the morning. We get the bright idea to record a diss track on Dan. So for the next probably good hour or so, we are just laughing about bars on the song. We're making the song and we're just laughing about how funny some of it is until eventually we finish the song and we decide to send it to the group chat thinking that they'll find it funny. So we screen record the whole song. I send it to the Alcoholics Anonymous group chat and then we just go to sleep after that. But then this is when things spun completely out of control because the next day I woke up to not only the group chat blowing up, but my entire Snapchat was flooded with so-and-so mentioned you in their story, so-and-so mentioned you in their story, and I was really confused. Turns out what happened was the group chat didn't just think the song was funny. They thought this was a genuinely like good diss track, like a fire song. So they all saved this to their camera roll, posted it on their story, and mentioned me. At the same time, this thing called the Dan Challenge is going on. Everyone's curling up in a ball like he did when he got his ass beat, and they're all just curling up in a ball, posting it to their story. Now there's a song to go with this challenge, and it's not just our school doing this, it's the whole town and people at other schools, because as I mentioned, he was a transfer student. Turns out the other schools he went to did not like him at all. He had to transfer for basically the same reasons as this. The entire school was just bullying him for different reasons. And at this point, my entire town is passing around this song more than rappers pass around Sophie Rain. It is turning into a problem. People are posting this all over. People are screen recording it. I'm getting more and more mentions. The song is blowing up. Now I have all types of people from my town texting me being like, dude, this song is fucking fire. You gotta drop this on SoundCloud. You gotta post this on SoundCloud. So like, I do what any reasonable man would do, and I post the song to SoundCloud. I then posted a link to my private stories saying that the song was up and on SoundCloud. This private story was called Sex Ed with Owen. It was essentially my TikTok before TikTok, and after posting the song onto my story, it exploded. And I don't mean a normal song explosion, like, you know what I'm saying, tens of thousands of streams. I just mean in my town, within the people of the school, like the youth of my town, this song got over 1,000 streams within 3 days. First song I've ever made and posted. So I'm watching this just explode, showing no signs of stopping. Anytime I get on Snapchat, somebody has it in their story. Anyone who lived in my area, for the most part, had that song on their story at one point or another because nobody in this town liked him. And so this song is going crazy, and I know for a fact the school's nosy ass are gonna get into this one way or another. I just don't know how yet. And the only problem with this too is Thanksgiving break ends in 1 day. So I know once I go to school, they are going to talk to me about this, but I could not imagine how out of control this could have possibly gotten. The day I had to go back to school, I woke up with this gut feeling that I was cooked. The second I went to school, I knew I was finished. And I just had this gut feeling the entire time I woke up, got ready, and drove to school. I knew once I walked through those doors, I was done for, right? So on the car ride to school, I go onto SoundCloud and I hide the song from public viewing. I private the song so that way, if I get called in, I can tell them that I felt bad and I deleted the song. So that way, if they search up my account, it's clearly deleted, the song wasn't there, and I'm just like, it's just some mistakes we made at 3 in the morning, stupid decisions, am I right? So I hid it from public viewing, just decided to see how it would play out. And so I got to school, went to first period, just fine. First period ends, I go to second period. Once again, nothing happens. Third period rolls around, make it all the way through. So now I'm on lunch. I go to lunch and I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I was being paranoid. This is like, there's no way, right? Then fourth period hits. I have Spanish class. I walk into Spanish class. The second I go in there, the teacher has a note for me. I explained, I didn't really get notes. So this terrified me. I saw that note and I'm like, So I grabbed that thing, go to walk to the office, right? I'm doing that walk of shame, deleting everything out of my iMessage, Snapchat, camera roll, anything that could possibly be incriminating if someone went through my phone, whether it was parents or school, had to be deleted. After I finished clearing my phone, I got to Miss Johnson's office and walked in. The second I got there, she was sitting down with the school's police officer, so I knew this was about to be bad. The second I sat down, the first thing she said was, I think you know why you're here. So I just decided to start off with a power play and be like, yeah, it's about the song. I know, I feel terrible about it. It's been eating away at me. This song was fueled by nothing but bad decisions, no sleep, and just terrible decision making at 3 a.m. Like, I deleted it and I feel really bad about it. And she, this whole time, she looks in utter shock, disbelief. She cannot believe this is coming out of my mouth. Like, I can tell she wants to believe me, but she does not. She's like, okay, yeah, you deleted it? Let's go ahead and check. She goes to pull up my SoundCloud, right? And once she pulls up my SoundCloud on the computer, this is how I'm like, oh, this is like kind of bad, right? Because they know my SoundCloud for sure. And so she types it in. Sure enough, the song is deleted because I hid it from public viewing. And Miss Johnson was shell-shocked that the song was actually taken down. She's like, I'm really surprised that you actually took the song down, but it's a good thing we transcripted it. Slaps down the lyrics to the entire song on the table in front of me. My stomach has never dropped down as much as it did in that moment. I've never felt that much of a surge of anxiety because I'm staring at the sheet of paper on the desk, right? And I see voice 1 and voice 2. Voice 1 was me. Voice 2 is my homie. Not only am I proud of my bars, like I have some intricate rhyme schemes, like my shit was hard and I know damn well it was, right? And at this point in time, my friend was in the process of transferring to the delinquent school, and when we recorded that diss track was actually the last time I ever saw him. He didn't technically go to my school, which meant the principals and the school board could not get him in trouble for any of this. And even if they could, his mom did not care if he got in trouble. This dude could get expelled and not even get a slap on the wrist, versus my dad would damn near put it inside me if like I got caught up with this. So I am already stressing. So when she said, are you voice 1 or voice 2? I'm like, oh, I'm voice 1, I'm voice 1. I'm voice 1, because this is when things get even worse, right? Because I am getting the 1,000-yard stare taken over me as I watch my last bit of freedom glimmer away in my eyesight, knowing that my dad is about to get called. But somehow, it still gets worse. Because it turns out the reason that it said voice 1 and voice 2 and there were no names on the transcript is because the school did not find this song. The FBI and police did. For those of you who don't know, back in 2020 to 2021, if you needed anything illegal, you could just go on Snapchat to find it. There were plugs selling anything and everything on Snapchat stories, from weapons to substances, stolen phones and AirPods for cheap, whatever you wanted. If you went through Snapchat long enough, you could find someone who was selling it. And Snapchat has worked with FBI and different law enforcement since like 2014. But in 2020, even local police departments were using Snapchat to catch all types of criminals, from just thieves, dealers, scammers, whatever it was. If you were posting stuff on your story, there was a really good chance you could get caught. A lot of my friends, or just friends of friends, got arrested or in legal trouble from just posting anything and everything on their stories. And it just so happens, since I was friends with all the people getting caught using Snapchat, since they reposted my song all over their stories, all of those people who had the FBI and police departments looking at their stories happened to stumble across my song. I did not think shit was close to that serious, but this one Miss Johnson's gonna look me dead in my soul and say this is worse than what Bryce did, and not only do they think that, so does the law enforcement, and they think I'm a threat to the school. On top of that, the school board wants me permanently expelled. She's telling me all this, and I'm like trying to process this in my mind, I'm like, whoa, what's going on? But she keeps continuing, talk about you are a threat to this school. Every kid in this school is terrified of you. You scare the kids. All the staff and students think that you're a threat to the school. The staff and the law enforcement think that you're gonna shoot the place up, do all types of stuff. And I'm like, this is why I literally just cut her off. I'm like, whoa, back up, take a couple steps back here, right? Because from the sounds of it, I'm about to get the treatment that Dan should have been getting for threatening to shoot the place up 3 separate times. I didn't even threaten the school. I just made a diss track on Dan. This has nothing to do with the school. But she told me that this was completely out of her hands and completely up to the school board. But not only that, there was most likely going to be an investigation taking place on me as well. So my mind is moving a million miles an hour. I'm having such a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that a diss track that doesn't mention the school, took place off of school grounds, somehow involves the school, the FBI, and the police. Like, this seems so blown out of proportion. In my head, it seemed more plausible that they were lying, capping their ass off, blowing this way out of proportion to terrify me than actually be true. And I'm literally staring off trying to comprehend how this has even got, how we got from A to B this quick, right? I have no idea how this even happened. As I'm trying to wrap my head around this, the police officer starts questioning me, talking to me about all sorts of stuff. And I literally don't even remember his question. I was so stressed out during this thing because my whole life feels like it's about to end. I'm getting expelled most likely, and my dad is going to be livid. If he's not livid enough with that, if he finds out the police and the FBI are on my ass, I'm cooked. This dude grounded me for 6 months for for getting caught vaping. The FBI, I'm done. I'm not seeing light till 18. So I'm sitting there, I am so stressed out until eventually I'm just sitting there. No one else is talking. I'm just staring out. I'm like, oh, no. And this one, Miss Johnson is going to look me dead in my soul once again. And I'm not even kidding. On my soul, on God, on my mom's soul, on fucking everything, on y'all's souls. She look at me and she says, don't tell anyone I said this, but if that was truly your lyricism that you made on that song, it was actually really, really good and you should pursue a career in this. She dead told me she was impressed with the song. To this day, I still cannot believe those words came out of her mouth because she's essentially calling what she just made out to be a terrorist threat to the school hard. In front of the police officer also working the quote-unquote case they're making it out to be. So my whole mind is scrambled. I can't even think of a response to this. All this is just so out the blue to me. I'm like, what is going on? And before I can even think of a response, she just looks at me, she's like, Owen, you know that you're one of my favorite students in this school. So with that being said, I will try my best to rally for you and make this go away, but I really do feel like you're going to be expelled. And so I'm just sitting here, I'm lost, I'm so lost, I'm getting expelled, I don't know what's going on, and I don't even know if I can trust what she's saying, because she always lied when she was on the phone with my dad. Whenever she had to call my dad, if I was getting suspended, if I wasn't getting suspended, whatever the situation was, she would lie so much to him, so I didn't even know if I could trust her. Then she told me no matter what, I was going to get a baseline week-long suspension while the school board decided what to do with me, but the suspension was indefinite and I was not welcome back on school property until a decision was made, but I would most likely be expelled. So I literally know nothing. I just have to wait at bare minimum a week for them to make this decision. And so Miss Johnson rambles on for a little bit longer. I don't really remember exactly what she said, but then this is when the cop finally starts speaking again, because for the most of the time I was in there, he was just sitting there trying to stare at me, looking all mean, trying to be intimidating, threatening or whatever. This dude's a chubby, bald cop. He looks like he can't even run a mile. I'm like, you're not threatening me whatsoever. But he finally starts talking again. He's like, do you own a gun? No, I don't own a gun. Do you plan on using a gun at school? I just told you I don't own a gun. Do you have thoughts about doing stuff to the school? Like I said, man, I don't own any guns. I'm not doing any. I don't like Dan. I have no problem with the school. I'm not going to do anything irrational to the school. I don't like Dan. I've made that clear. I've apologized about everything else. I've made it very clear what my intentions are, and it should have been clear in the song that I'm not going to do anything to the school. You're treating me like a terrorist trying to board a plane or something. I don't own nothing. He looked at me like he did not believe a word out of my mouth, which I mean, honestly, I don't blame him. I mean, I had run-ins with him my entire high school career. As a freshman, I was the first kid in the state suspended, and within my first week of high school, we were already on a name-to-name basis because he had to talk to me so much. Like, I get where he was coming from, but after he asked me all those questions, he sent me to the ISS room. And it was a weird situation though, because I was technically not allowed to even be in ISS because I was unofficially expelled. So they had to call up my dad and have him come pick me up from school. And this dude shows up and he is livid. The second I step in the car, he's screaming at me non-stop, asking me all types of questions. What did you do? What did you do? And I'm like, I made a song. I made a song. He's like, no, what else did you do? What else did you do? He refuses to believe that this is all over a diss track. He thinks me and the school are lying to him. This is when my dad says, okay, Owen, if this is just about a diss track, then why do I have police and FBI showing at my door trying to take my guns? I froze. I didn't know what to say because I'm like, whoa. Police and FBI are at your door? That means that nothing the school just told me was lies. Like, I'm genuinely frozen because I'm like, I'm trying to process how all of this happening is the result of a diss track and how this is all taking place in less than the span of 24 hours from me being found at school out for all of this. Like, in the span of literally what felt like from I got called in the office at like 1 o'clock just about. It's now 1:30. In the span of this 30 minutes, I have just now found out that a diss track is getting me expelled, on an FBI watch list, almost arrested, and my dad has FBI and police trying to take away his guns. How is that result of a diss track? It makes no sense to me. So I am frozen trying to process this. I'm like, wait, the school isn't lying. This is real. This I thought I was dreaming, having a nightmare or something. And then what was probably a 7-second pause gets interrupted by my dad screaming at me. Well, tell me, Owen, why are the police at my door? What are you doing? And I just responded, it's just a diss track. Like, it's genuinely just a diss track. It's just a song. And he said, if it's just a song, why are the police and FBI at my door? Why am I getting phone calls from police about my guns and about you? I've been getting calls. I've been getting random fucking police at my door. I get off work to come home and relax, not deal with your bullshit. What is wrong with you? What could you possibly be doing? He's trying to figure out how all this is the result of a song. I'm trying to figure out the same thing. And like, keep in mind, this whole time, I don't trust the school whatsoever. I trust my dad even less. The school might have lied to me, blatantly distracted me, but my dad did even worse. He had been lying to me about the most random things my entire life coming up, to the point where if I was in a public setting and I was about to tune into a conversation, like say something, I'd have to make sure it wasn't something my dad told me before I got embarrassed by every single person because of how blatantly untrue the fact was. So I didn't trust my dad at all. And so this whole time, I literally, in my head on this drive home, I'm thinking it is 1,000 times % more plausible for the school and my dad to just be telling me this. So that way I like stop making a diss track, whatever it is. You know, I think they're just trying to like fear monger me out of whatever like delinquent type state. I'm trying to think of anything because this makes no sense to me whatsoever. I don't understand how this is the result of a song. Because why would this matter to the school if it happened off of school grounds? Why do the police even care? And this does not seem like something the FBI would take the time out their day to do. I live in a tourist town in Idaho. There is no gang violence, no shootings, no nothing here. We have the KKK, terrorist groups, ISIS, and just cults. It's more likely to see arson than it is to see a shooting in my town. And so it's Idaho. I'm like, why do y'all care? I wouldn't find out for another 4 years. It turns out by the time that my grade was in 8th grade and then into our freshman year, the crime rates in our town had rose by over 50 to 75%, and the surrounding places around us were even worse. Not only were we right on state line, where not only is there a lot of sex trafficking and terrible things, they're also next to the highest, I think at least, the highest crime rate per capita city in all of Washington. And then 40 minutes away from us, we also have this Native American reservation, which I mean, well, let's just say is a big part of the reason the FBI came out here, and there's just all types of bad stuff. So the FBI had to come out here and monitor even more because all types of bad shit was happening out here. But the point is, the FBI and police started camping out and watching certain areas and certain people. I even heard reports of them hiding in fields wearing ghillie suits just waiting for stuff to go down. And most of the people they were monitoring happened to be my friends because they were so focused on the people selling drugs, and I happen to know basically all of the people who were. And all of these people that they're monitoring on Snapchat, happen to be the same people posting my diss track all over the place. So since the FBI is already looking in on that, every single person that they're monitoring, well, not every single person, but a bunch of the people they're monitoring is posting my song, they're obviously going to look into that. And the more that they look into that, they start to realize every person that I'm related to that's posting this song all have a criminal record, but then there's just nothing on me. Like, they're gonna look into that. All of the people in my friend group had been caught doing multiple things, and most of them had been to juvie or bare minimum on probation. I was the only person out of this entire friend group who had a completely clean record, no diversion, no probation, had never even been banned from a store, nothing. I'd never been caught with anything, but it was painfully obvious. I was doing the same exact things that they were because I was surrounded by all of them. So I'm sitting in my dad's truck trying to make sense out of all of this because it just seems like it all got blown way out of proportion. Like, this all makes no sense to me. I'm the most confused I have ever been in my entire life up to this point. And then my dad's just telling me, even if you don't get expelled, you're gonna go to your grandparents. I'm sending you over to a completely separate town. You're gonna live with your grandparents and you're gonna go to school over there, even if you don't get expelled. So like, no matter what, I am cooked. And I was just so confused about, from my perspective, it seemed all of this just went down in the span of 24 hours, which obviously this had to have been worked on because the song had been taken down all day, but it had been up for less than a week and they'd already worked on all this. Like, I was so confused how this even happened. And the whole thing that had me even more confused was it seemed like my entire bloodline and school staff had an interaction with police, FBI, all types of people besides me. I was the only one who hadn't been talked to. But this is when my dad told me that at some point today, they were gonna stop back by the house and talk to me. And when I heard that, my stomach dropped so far, I thought I might shit it out. I was sitting here thinking, there is no way I just threw away my future over a diss track. I am not gonna graduate high school over a diss track. Up until this point, this was unheard of, but literally just this year, back in March, some student in Georgia made a diss track on another student and got arrested and charged over the diss track. Theirs was way less bad than mine. Mine was way worse, and I didn't get arrested or charged, but back in like 2021 when this went down, this was literally unheard of. This had never happened before. And from my perspective, they're like just making this out to be some type of big old deal when it's just a diss track. I'm like, how are y'all not more focused on Dan? You're telling me the police and the school don't care about any of this. Like, the assault allegations, I can kind of understand why they don't care because, like, for one, it's the American justice system, and for two, it's been months since it happened. There's no like physical markings, scratches, DNA. There's no like solid evidence to convict off of. But you're telling me this dude's gonna threaten to shoot up the school 3 separate times? Y'all are gonna call up bare minimum like 7 to like 9 cop cars, put the school on Fort Knox type lockdown, just to not even bring him to the police station, not question him, literally not do anything, just let him get off scot-free for every single thing he's doing and blatantly lie about every single thing. Like, it's very clear, it's very blatantly obvious, y'all are just choosing favorites and picking what you want to happen. Y'all just want us out of the school. The second we got home, my dad wasted no time to ground the dog shit out of me. This dude would go into my room, take away the light to like my LED light strips. He would take away my speaker, my school laptop, my fucking like remote to my TV. He would deflate my basketball so I couldn't hoop. He would like take away the mini basketball from inside. He would take away literally everything down to books in my rooms, Sharpies in my rooms, and even records to play. Anything that had even an ounce or speck of dopamine was taken right away, and I was forced to literally do nothing but stare at my ceiling for the rest of my suspension. I wasn't even allowed to go outside, like damn near even into the front yard. I wasn't allowed to watch TV. I couldn't do anything. I wasn't even allowed to have privacy. This dude took my door away from me, and this week went by so goddamn slow because I'm just waiting. I'm literally just waiting to find out if I'm expelled, if the police are gonna come to my door. Like, I have so much stuff that I'm just waiting for, and I have nothing to do besides stare at the ceiling and literally just count. I'm just waiting for this to happen. And I got so desperate because like I paid for basically everything that he took, but I didn't care about getting any of it back. I just wanted my goddamn door. I just wanted some privacy. I got so desperate that I just started beating my shit around dinner time, just full spread eagle, completely naked, just waiting, hoping to get caught. I never even ended up getting caught. I did this for 3 straight months, trying to get caught in the hopes that they'd be like, whoa, teenage boy, he needs his privacy. I never got caught. I was just doing this for no fucking reason every single time it hit dinner time. Never got my door back, and it was just such a bad situation. But like, at this point, I've been grounded for like 3 days, right? I'm sitting here. My dad told me the cops were gonna show up the first day that I got home. They never showed up. So I'm just waiting around like, are they gonna show up? What's going on? Are you guys lying to me? Are you guys not lying? I have so many thoughts going through my head, and I can't trust a single person. I don't even know what's going on. But the entire rest of the week, I did not hear a single thing. Not from the police, not from the school, absolutely nothing. And this made me even more nervous because this made me think they're taking the time to look into every insignificant detail before looking forward. I just did not understand why this is even that serious. It's a song. It's not about the school. Why are y'all taking this much time to look into it? And I was starting to get really nervous because that whole week went by. Not a single anything. And now it's officially Monday, the next week of school, still haven't heard anything. And so I'm starting to genuinely tweak out because I'm like, this is going to be really bad if they're still looking into this. What could possibly be the result? Until later that night, right around 7 p.m., I'm fairly sure, is when my dad came up to me. He's like, you're needed at the school tomorrow. They want to talk to you. He said this shit all pissed off. I'm like, this is great news. If I'm going into the school, this most likely means I'm not expelled, right? And so next day, I go into school just as a normal day, go to my first period. Before the class even starts, I get sent down to Miss Johnson's office. I walked into Miss Johnson's office to see her sitting right next to the police officer once again. And the second that I sat down, the first thing she said to me is, well, Owen, you messed up real bad. But you're not expelled. I told you I would do what I did for you, and I rallied really hard. You don't understand what I had to do to keep you in this school. The school district wants you as far away from this district as possible. I had to put my position on the line to keep you here. And I'm hearing all this and I'm genuinely shocked because I knew she liked me more than the rest of my friends, but I did not believe that I was actually one of her favorite students. I did not believe she was gonna rally, fight for me, and let alone this hard. I'm hearing all this and I'm hearing about basically my friend's Grim Reaper saving my life. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna complain about this obviously, but I'm just sitting there shell-shocked. I'm like, I'm not expelled. The police haven't talked to me. What's going on right now? And to my knowledge, Miss Johnson had never done this for a student before me and has not done anything close to this for anybody after me. It was genuinely shell-shocking. She was willing to do this for me. It's still kind of unbelievable to me now. And she told me the only reason the school board even thought about keeping me in school was because I had near perfect attendance and at least decent grades. I had almost all A's and B's, well, besides Spanish class. I was failing the dog shit out of Spanish class. But I mean, look at my white ass. Well, I don't even know what I was doing in there. I can't even roll my R's. That was bound to happen, but she told me that if I even so much as slipped up and got behind on schoolwork, I would be expelled. If I got caught skipping class, going off campus to the gas station, expelled. If my attendance so much as slipped up, expelled. Anything I did, expelled. I was essentially on lockdown. They put me on something called a level 3 AA protection protocol or level 4 AA, something along the lines of that. And this piece of paper was signed by the head of the school board, all the heads of the school board, vice principal and principal, school's police officer, and myself all had to sign this. And this piece of paper essentially stated that me and an unnamed student could never be in the same class, which the student was obviously Dan, and we already had 2 classes together. So it went on to say if we had the same class, I had to be as far forward and diagonal from him as possible, and I could never be seated near him and especially not behind him. I wasn't even allowed to leave the classroom unless it was passing period to walk to my next class, the only other exception being if I got a note summoning me to the office. And on top of this, every single lunch, I had to be within the eyesight of the police officer. Whenever it hit lunchtime, I had to find him wherever he was, have him sign this piece of paper saying I came up to him, then I'd have to sit at the seat closest to him so I could be in constant supervision and constant eyesight of the police officer. There was a lot more to this whole protection protocol, so many more rules and regulations. It was somewhere between 3 to 5 pages long and size 10 font. There was so much rules and regulations to this whole thing, but those are the highlights of it. And if I can find any screenshots of this, I'll put them up in the video. But for the most part, this was all on Skyward on my computer, so I didn't have any screenshots on my phone of it. I don't think, but I will look. Besides the point though, these were the most important highlights of it, and if I was caught breaking a single one of these rules and regulations, I was immediately expelled and potentially sent to juvie since I signed that whole contract thing. Even if I was caught doing anything, if I got suspended, ISS, skip class, no matter what, struck with the band hammer, I'm expelled. Until I proved to them that I was not a threat, I was not allowed off of this protocol. It was deadass a school restraining order. And after Miss Johnson outlined the entirety of the protection protocol and the whole plan, the police officer had some stuff to say. He proceeded to tell me essentially the same thing Miss Johnson told me about having to stick out his neck for me, having to rally, having to do all types of stuff, because essentially when the FBI gets involved with stuff involving a school, they have to let the chief of his police know. Once the chief of his police station knows, he has to come over to him and ask all types of questions about the student, and if he doesn't have answers, he then has to find them. And he said he believed I did not have any malicious intent to the school. However, that doesn't mean everyone else thinks that I don't have malicious intent or anything like that. So he had to do all types of paperwork and all types of stuff, and essentially everything with this fell on him and him dealing with the FBI, and it was just a whole shit show for him, and he was just telling me how much work he did to keep me in this school. He kept saying he was not happy about how much work I gave him and how much he had to stick his neck out for me, and he said the only reason he did it is because we have a history and I have bad luck. He then proceeded to tell me that I would have to check in personally with him, not just at lunch, but every single day in general, because he would have to report back to the police station and some higher ups in the FBI how I was doing and if I was getting better. Otherwise, he would be forced to take it seriously again. And he essentially said, you better take this seriously because your part is very simple, and what I had to do to get here was not simple. All you have to do is check in with me. And then he also said that if I didn't do this part essentially and I started just being a dickhead, he would be forced to let them know and they would take care of me. He said that they were trusting him to make sure I got better, and if I didn't follow the system, they were gonna handle me. He then told me that not a single person besides him wanted this outcome, and he was shocked he was able to get it. He said the only reason that the police and FBI weren't looking more into this was because his department trusted him so much to watch over me that they were just gonna let it happen. But just because they dropped it didn't mean that they couldn't open it up just as quickly as it got dropped. He then started warning me, saying that he was not going to be the only person watching over me, insinuating that more people were going to be watching me. He then told me to be very careful about social media, Snapchat stories, all types of stuff, and he just kept insinuating this entire time that I was going to be monitored, I was going to be watched. He just had this tone to him this entire time that was, you are in deep shit. You fucked up, and this is your one chance out. If you don't take this opportunity, you are genuinely done for. He just had this undertone this entire time, and I was catching that if this was literally my only chance to actually get away from what the outcome I thought was going to happen was, which was getting expelled, going to juvie, all that stuff. And so he's warning me about my stories, that I'm going to be monitored and watched. I mean, that wasn't going to be an issue because I was already grounded indefinitely by my dad, and either way, I wasn't posting any stupid shit on my stories. But now I was just gonna be paranoid about my every move basically indefinitely. This dude's telling me I'm gonna be monitored, I need to watch out, and I need to be careful what I do even out in public. So I'm like, this is just insane. But regardless, this was still obviously way better than going to juvie or getting expelled from the school district. So, I mean, I really could not complain. And after this day, I did every single thing I had to do on that list. I followed every single regulation, rule, and guideline, and it took them, but I think about 6 months to determine I was not a threat and that I got better to take me off of this list. And to be honest, I never got reached out to by the police, by the FBI, and the school never even talked to me about this again after that moment. But I always wondered if the FBI and police, like if it ever was this serious, if they blew it out of proportion, if they were trying to scare me. And I always had like this hard time believing them until my senior year hit and I got put on another FBI watch list. Thank you all so much for watching to the end of the video. I have spent more time, effort, and energy on this than I have spent on any video I have ever put on this channel, so I really hope y'all enjoyed it. I spent hours trying to find as many old videos I had that could have possibly been related to the story, as well as even going back to my school and walking through to get all types of footage for the story, just so it had even better of an effect to it, you know what I mean? And yes, I did get permission to get videos when I went to the school. I talked to some of the staff there, so everything was all good on that end. And before I say anything else, I just want to say I see a lot of y'all glorifying my old lifestyle in the comments. Y'all see these videos, and yes, they're crazy stories, but there's no need to glorify it. A lot of y'all see my stories, and I see a lot of y'all say you want to do similar things, you want to go out, do this, do that. There is no reason for all of that. The only reason these stories exist is because this was the lowest point of my entire life. I did not care about my life. All I was doing was living for thrills and living for substances. I did not care if I lived, died, rotted in prison, whatever the case was. I was here for a good good time, not a long time. It has taken me a lot of just work on myself to get to the place I'm at today, and just like a lot of just effort in general. So there's really no reason to go out and do all this stupid shit, because at the end of the day, it's stupid. And there's no reason to do anything like this because it's just stupid, and you'll get consequences for the actions. And like, one of the main takeaways y'all should get from this is to not do stupid shit on your stories on social media. Nowadays, a lot of my generation, anyone younger than me, goes on their stories, post everything, their entire life, top to bottom. Y'all, no matter what, if you're posting enough bad stuff or related to people posting bad stuff, this same type of stuff could happen to literally anyone. FBI is always monitoring different things on social media. They have whole departments for it. So you should always be very, very careful with all that. And another takeaway to really have from this video is when allegations come out surrounding any type of person, no matter what it is, it's always a he said, she said type of situation. You can never truly know the facts of what went down in a situation. All you can have is assumptions on some stuff. No matter how much information you gather, no matter what, you were not there when everything happened. So a lot of the time, it's just better to distance yourself from a lot of these situations. As you can see, me and my whole friend group tried to get involved in this whole thing, trying to get justice for this chick because we thought that Dan had done the stuff to her. We were on her side with the whole thing. Y'all seen what happened to us. All of us got in extreme amounts of trouble, whereas Dan did not get touched. Now, at the end of the day, I truly will never know if Dan did commit these actions. You know what I mean? I've seen some different videos and different things that the chick had showed me, but at the end of the day as well, the police and different law enforcement and schools said those videos were not even good enough evidence to convict him on whatever it was. They said that it wouldn't even align with certain things because they needed scrapings on the body, different things like that. So the best thing to do with allegations is if you're gonna bring them up, if you wanna get someone convicted, you should do it when there's still, everything is fresh. Like the same days to like couple days after when it happens. Otherwise, the law enforcement will not do anything about it, and it will most likely turn into a situation like this where no justice happens, and the only thing that happens is everyone surrounded with it trying to bring justice will also get brought down. It's a fucked up situation, and so whenever stuff like this happens, a lot of the time it might just be better to distance yourself from certain things, gather the facts, and not jump to any type of conclusions, because as much as someone like a guy committing these acts, you know what I'm saying? A guy who assaults a girl in any type of way, that's just scum shit. There's no reason to ever fucking do anything. That's disgusting to fucking do. But lying about allegations, in my personal opinion, is close to as bad as that. You're going to ruin someone's life over false allegations because most people will assume it's true. So that's why stuff like this are very, very touchy subjects. You can never truly know what's going on unless you were involved in the situation. So it might be better to distance yourself from certain things. But I just want to say, we also hit 100,000 subscribers. So thank y'all so much for all the support y'all been showing to the channel, all the support y'all been showing for my stories. I'm so sorry about the delays to get this story out in this entire video. I had just all types of bullshit after bullshit happening, one after another, delaying this video from coming out. So I appreciate y'all for y'all support so much, and we should never have a delay this long on the channel again. Most likely my next video is gonna be a shortened version of this story, kind of just bullet pointing and highlighting different things that are important, because a lot of people won't have the attention span for this. And in the future, I might do that for the rest of my videos, have a long cut and then a shortened cut. And we will also most likely be opening up a gaming channel very soon for y'all, because y'all been wanting a gaming channel, different avenues of content and whatnot. And so after I swap around my setup, do some different things, we will be opening that up. But I love y'all so much. Thank you all guys so much for all the support y'all been showing to the channel and showing to me. I have so much stuff coming for y'all. This is truly just the beginning, but I'll stop the yapping because I know y'all just want to hear the diss track. So here is the diss track.
Then you a little fucking bitch. We all knew your ass was gonna snitch. We knew you full, still went and told. Your ass really fucking sold. Swear you off a Zan, ain't no friend, you a fan. You a rapist, no black friends, probably fucking racist. Swear your bitch, gosh, she looked like a slut. Thought she was nice, that's why you got your ass beat by Bryce. Bro wanted clout, so we made him a meme. Bryce beat his ass, then fled from the scene. Blood coming out the nose. When you got hit, you froze. Thought you were the shit, then got news you ain't the man. Told you not to come to school, now you look like a fucking fool. Wanted to bring a blade, still got ran your fate. Bryce never missed names, and now it's Daniel really folded. Wanted to be part of the fucking mob. Now you see us and you gonna get robbed, bitch. Yeah, gonna get robbed, bitch. Yeah, Dan a little snitch.